evening. Welcome to Norwood's School Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 12th, 2024, and we are here at the Savage Center. If you are in attendance, please rise so we can say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so according to the policy of the Norwood School Committee, under the amended section 1101 and section 1102 of the Norwood School Committee policies and bylaws, the superintendent is charged with the responsibility of convening the school committee for the purpose of electing chair. Therefore, this meeting will now come to order. Nominations are now in order for the chair of the Norwood School Committee. Kate?
Dr. Munoz, I'd like to reappoint Donna Doliner as our secretary and table the rest of the decisions until we have had our summer workshop where we'll be working with our new superintendent and looking at the year to come.
Okay. Is anyone going to second that?
I'll second that, just the slight amendment that Donna's the clerk. So.
Clerk, I apologize.
That's okay.
So then, can you say that one more time, Kate?
Sure. I move to reappoint Donna Dolinger as our clerk and to table further discussion on the reorg and other appointments.
So Kate nominates Donna to be our clerk for the next year.
Yep.
And for all the other discussions of electing chair to be tabled until the new superintendent arrives and you guys meet with the new superintendent.
Correct.
And Teresa seconds that.
Yes.
Any discussion from here?
Are we going to pick a date? Because I am not, I understand the argument, but I'm uncomfortable with this.
July 24th, I think, is our next business meeting, right?
So we said July 10th we'd have a workshop. I assume we'd work through some of things there, and then probably, July 24th we could vote.
Okay, so can we amend that so it says, so we have a date for that?
Yes. Do I need to say it all again, or can you just add July 24th?
Yes, can I make an amendment that in that includes that we're gonna vote on the 24th of July?
Yeah.
I'll second that amendment.
All right. David puts in an amendment to make sure we have a vote on July 24th. Teresa seconds it. Any other discussion? I feel really important right now. All right, so I believe we're going to take a vote for this?
Yep.
Yes? And do I start with you or do I start with you?
Well, we're all here,
We're all
so
here,
you
so
can
you can
just
just
say
do-
all in favor, and then we can vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. David?
Can you say all opposed?
Opposed.
All opposed?
And abstain.
And abstain?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, that's what it is.
So
Still need my
4-0-1,
feedback.
that passes.
All right. So we have four yeses, one abstain, and then we'll pass. All right. All right, and now I'll pass the reins back to our current chair, Anne Marie.
Thank you. So the next order of business on our agenda was approval of minutes. We actually do not have any minutes this evening to vote on. We're not quite ready yet, so we're going to skip over that one as well until next meeting. Any correspondence this evening, Dr. Munoz? All right, so the next item after that is the warrant report. And it is the final one of the school year. So I'll read those into the record. This week I signed warrants in the amounts of $172.52, $3,821.68, $223.73, $51,386.43, $12,183.49, and $14,132.68 for a grand total of $81,920.53. Are there any questions on the warrant report? All right. Moving on to our next item is public comment. Reminder to the public that you can access public comment in two ways. You can sign up with the superintendent's office by noon the day of the meeting to obtain a hybrid link or to put your name on our in-person list. You can also come to our meeting and sign in at that time. Is anyone here for public comment this evening? Seeing none, did anyone sign up previously? Okay. So seeing none, I will declare at 7:14 p.m. public comment closed. Okay. So that brings us right into our appearances. First on our appearances, we have Mr. Quigley and Mr. Blood here to give us an update on the Metro West Behavioral Health Survey. Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to see everybody. And before we jump into the presentation, I want to thank everybody. I know it's been a busy, very busy year for all of you, for school committee, for the district. I think you've done a fabulous job. We've made it, so to speak, almost, at least from a formal meeting schedule. So thank you very much. So our presentation this evening, the 2023 Metro West Adolescent Health Survey Key Indicator Summary. These key indicator summaries are the first sets of data, if you will, that we've gotten back as a district. So this presentation is rather brief. It's a summary. It's touching upon all the different categories that the Metro West survey sort of encompasses when our students participate. We participated most recently in October of this past fall, October 2023. It was the third administration of the survey. We first did it in 2018, then in 2021, and in 2023. So we'll get right into it. Again, administered in October of 2023. At Norwood High School, 764 students participated, roughly 80%. At CMS, Coakley Middle School, 704 of our students participated. Participation slightly higher with 88%. Again, we're seeing the three different administrations of the survey and how we can generate some of that trend data, those three years. 25 communities, Metro West. We are not here in Norwood considered Metro West, but I think we're one of 3 communities that participate. So 25 communities total, over 38,000 students took the survey. And overall, this survey data is designed to support schools and the communities as we review priorities and develop action plans to help improve student wellness. So as I've mentioned before in some updates, this survey tool is full of really, really important data that I know not just sort of at the district level, but also building-based Coakley and at the high school, we've really prioritized moving forward as using this data in the best way we can as we continue to plan. The next slide, the trends comparison, 2018 to 2023, first at Coakley Middle School. The category of substance use, we saw it was somewhat of a mixed bag overall with the survey. There were a lot of positives that came out of the data, but also obviously some areas of concern and room for growth. One of the areas of improvement at Coakley was the substance use category, lifetime electronic vape use, lifetime alcohol use, and current marijuana use over the past 30 days all showed signs of decline. So a very positive trend there. With our violence and bullying victimization, physical fighting in general, and physical fighting on school property, as well as bullying, continue to trend upwards. So that's something as we move forward that we're going to want to look at, as well as the possession of a weapon during a lifetime and on school property. That trend increased. And you'll notice sort of like the positives and the negatives in parentheses. The mental health category, stress, depressive symptoms, self-injury, suicide, whether it's ideation or actually attempted suicide, all indicate that students were struggling in this area at the middle school as of the 2023 administration of this survey. And physical activity overall, students are exercising significantly less than the recommended 20 minutes 3 times per week. Okay. At the high school, grades 9 through 12, substance use. Substance use indicators trend consistently down in every category from 2018 to 2023, with the exception of lifetime prescription drug misuse, which went up slightly from 2021 to 2023, but still is lower than 2018 rates. Interestingly, there's a lot of a lot of different layers we're going to be able to analyze this. Many lenses we can look at this data through. When it comes to substance use, we noted that females are actually reporting higher levels of substance use in almost every category when compared to male students. Violence and bullying victimization. Violence indicators are trending consistently down in every category from 2018 to 2023, with the exception of physical fighting on school property sometime during the past 12 months, which ticked up slightly, 0.3%. Also of note, bullying victimization concerns indicators trend consistently down in every category overall from 2018 to 2023. Our mental health category. Mental health concerns indicators trend consistently down in every category from 2018 to 2023. And again, of interesting note, females are reporting higher levels of mental health concerns overall in every category compared to their male peers. Sexual behavior at the high school level. 2 out of the 3 sexual behavior indicators trended down from 2018 to 2023. Physical activity. High school students, similar to middle school students, are reporting that they are exercising less than they did in 2018 and 2021, and more students are self-reporting as either overweight or obese. In terms of a comparison to the regional trend, right, because as I said, Norwood was one of 25 communities. So how does Norwood compare with the other regional data? At NHS, the decline in substance use was consistent with that decline in the regional substance use trend. The decline in violence at NHS, the physical fighting, carrying a weapon, was also consistent with the regional trend. Recent bullying victimization is actually below the regional trend, which is a good thing. A decline in stress, anxiety, depressive symptoms, and suicidality is consistent with the regional trend, still a concern. And a decline in sexual intercourse and related behaviors is also consistent with the regional trends. At the middle school, at CMS, the decline in overall substance use was consistent with that regional trend. The increase in physical fighting, whether it be a lifetime or on school property, was actually higher than the regional trend. Recent bullying victimization, past 12 months, was higher than the regional trend. An increase in life being very stressful was higher than the regional trend. And the decrease in physical activity was actually significantly below what that regional trend was. So again, I mentioned there's a lot of positive information to come out of this, but it's also clear to us where we need to hone, the areas that we need to hone in on, the areas that our students at both the middle school and the high school continue to struggle or may be experiencing more struggle than some of their peers. So looking ahead, in progress, looking towards the future, what do we already have in place? How we already started to approach looking at this data and using it? And how are some of the school initiatives, building-based initiatives, linked to this data? At Coakley Middle School, there's been a student advisory group made up of a diverse group of students from all the elementary neighborhoods. That advisory group speaks and communicates with the principal that meets monthly. The members would also sit on the school council and student council to advise on CMS student needs. Conduct professional development of the principles of restorative justice. This is linked to that, some of the bullying, some of the violence, the victimization on campus. Create and develop more programs, activities, and clubs that help build community both during and after school. I know we've had discussions before of trying to really ramp up opportunities for students after school at Coakley. This data would indicate that should continue to be a priority. And some of these initiatives, again, come directly from our school improvement plans as well, from Coakley and from the high school. There's a new health curriculum, thank you, that was approved and will be rolled out over a 3-year period that will supplement these efforts in tackling some of the areas of greatest concern. And then we want to make sure that our curriculum is aligned to state and national standards, always keeping that in focus. What are our guardrails for what we're doing in wellness? At the high school, the much anticipated launch of the Grade 9 Supports Committee, aiming to better support academic, behavioral, emotional, and procedural needs of all students, continues to be looked at and developed further. The identification of priority areas with cooperative learning to be able to increase classroom structures for culturally responsive teaching practices that our teachers can utilize. And also, that new curriculum that I mentioned earlier, it is a K-12 curriculum. So we're going to make sure that our new Health Smart curriculum also supplements these efforts, as well as making sure that our high school curriculum, at least in the wellness department, also aligns with state and national standards. So overall, at NHS, the expected uptick from 2021, COVID era, if you will, to now across most of the categories was not observed. That's a positive thing, a positive piece that comes out of this data from this recent administration of the survey. Attention to mental health concerns is working. Impact Norwood, and Bob can speak a little bit more about Impact Norwood's efforts in collaboration with the schools. Impact Norwood's work is making a positive difference in the community and within the schools. Obviously, the wellness department continues to prioritize these areas in making a positive difference, and the data points to school climate being one that is based on positive, respectful culture. Additional mental health support through additional SAC and social worker, restorative practices, and clinical partnerships appear to better support our school counselors and providers, which may have positively impacted some of this data. So we wanted to make sure to make note of that some of the things that are already in place that may have contributed to the improvement and the decline in some of these mental health indicators. At Coakley Middle School, the violence, bullying, victimization, and mental health concerns are up across the board. Work is already underway with ensuring that students feel safe and connected at school. The increase in mental health concerns and related issues of safety further indicate the need for more mental health and administrative staff at CMS. And at a district-wide level, we need to prioritize and continue to discuss what a deeper data dive is going to look like into this survey data, into grade level and socio-demographic trends in order to present findings to our students, to our families, and the greater community. I also wanted to mention that last week I was able to attend the end of the year Metro West District workshop. They spoke a lot about the regional trends, which I mentioned briefly. They gave an update on the data dashboard, the much anticipated data dashboard. We do have the full report in hand, so to speak, but this data dashboard will really enable the district to, instead of picking through pages and pages of the report, to have a dashboard, a digital dashboard in front of us to filter the information that we really want to extrapolate and look hard at and start making some decisions on. And the other thing moving forward, you know, this is just one data set. This is one tool. We also have information through our participation with Wellesley College and the social media surveys that is linked to this. There are also some other surveys that students have participated in over the past 5 years. So in terms of triangulating some of this data, we do have some other sources that we can look to do that, to compare, to contrast, to see where there are some consistencies, and again, really sort of hone in on the areas that we want to focus on. But I really think I was pleased, and I know this presentation was the product of some collaboration that's already occurred with Impact Norwood, with Connor Brosnan, with Bob Blood, you know, with some administrators. I know the Student Advisory Council at the high school has had a peek at the key indicator reports already. So there has been some collaboration already, and this presentation, I think, summarizes nicely where we're at right now and gives us a clear understanding, sort of direction of where we need to move. I do, like I said, I feel very fortunate. I'm thankful that Bob is with us tonight So if Bob wants to chime in from the Impact Norwood standpoint.
Sure, yeah. Hi, Bob Wood. I'm a program coordinator for Impact Norwood. Connor Brosnan's the director. He's out on parental leave. Truthfully, it's the substance use has gone down. That's very encouraging. The mental health issues, which I think can be intertwined with substance use, and the bullying is a big concern. I don't think kids can learn if they're scared to go to school. Through the principals at the junior high and the high school, I've been able to go to the high school twice a week during lunchtime, and I meet with the kids. I enjoy that a lot. I also go to the Coakley on Tuesdays and meet with them. They're a handful of that grade. It's very interesting, but it's a challenge, and I'm up to it, and I enjoy it. But thank you for the time for me to talk to you guys. And again, I think this was important. Impact Norwood's it's a federally funded grant. The grant's going to run out in a couple of years, so that's a concern. Impact Norwood also, help fund this report as well, so that money would dry up if the grant goes away. So that's something to be concerned about as well. If anyone have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, when did you say the dashboard is available?
So there, again, we keep getting sort of strung along.
Oh, okay.
By the end of this month.
Oh.
They, June 21st, I believe. The interesting thing about the dashboard is when they first presented it as an option with your district, right, they sent out sort of a notice to all the participating districts, would you be interested in using something like this? And so many districts said absolutely. I think we were under the impression that it would be one of those things where we would get a link and it would be so user-friendly that we could post the link, and even community members from our district homepage could plug and play and get the information that they need. That's not the case. A select group here in-house within the district will have access to it. If you're interested in being one of those folks who does have access, obviously I will. The superintendent will be, the assistant superintendent, the leadership team in both buildings will have access to it. Please let me know if you're interested, and I'll make sure that they have your email and sort of your contact info so they can get you your specific login credentials, because it will be limited, initially at least, access to it.
I have one other thing. I also bring a yoga instructor to the Coakley Middle School, and we do yoga every other Thursday. Impact Norwood funds that, which, namaste. That's pretty. Some of these kids are really flexible. Some of them really aren't either. They seem to enjoy it. The Margot is very helpful, and she brings them all down during their Mustang block, and we move the tables.
About how
aside.
many do you get, Bob?
Initially, it wasn't that many. It was like maybe 8 to 10, but now it's like up to 20, maybe a couple more. Yeah.
Well, I think she cycles them through now.
Yeah, I think.
I think maybe the element of choice got taken away, and it's, everybody's going to have a rotation into the yoga.
But they all put,
practice.
they have tons of mats and stuff, and they do it. It's
Yeah.
fun. The instructor's really, she really enjoys it. The kids seem to really like her a lot, so
That's awesome.
that's fun.
That's great.
I think lastly, if I could just add one thing, is, as we wrap up this school year, right, everybody needs sort of that break to recharge and whatnot, but when it comes to this stuff, I think it's very clear that some of our summer work and some of our effort needs to be, attention needs to be given to this. And some good, rich discussion needs to take place so we can have those action steps and that plan in place when we do start a new beginning. Well, we're actually coming back before Labor Day now, right? At the end of August, when at least when these two buildings kick things off. So, and I know that will happen. So I'm anxious to get that schedule set up so we can start looking at this a little more closely.
I know that, I think Teresa and we spoke about this before, but that big paper file you're talking about, do they also provide a CSV file for us? Because we actually are building a data platform in the district. We can triangulate that data with through-line data, with MCAS data.
I don't have the exact answer. I can look into it.
Because they give us a CSV file we can put into our own
Right.
dashboard,
Yeah.
Right.
which we can turn over quickly because we don't have to worry about, they're all thinking about all the other 25. We can take all the data and we can
Yeah.
quickly, so.
Yeah, we
That
just
would be
have it in
great.
a zip drive right now,
It's a zip
which
drive
is not
right
the
now.
most user friendly, but this is actually the survey,
There-
because I like paper.
Yeah, if we open the zip, will it be a CSV file, I guess, right? If we unzip it, will it be a CSV file? That, I guess is, and we can talk about this offline, but.
Yeah, no, I.
Yeah, we are
that's a
starting to
great-
build our
that's a
own,
great
our own
question.
dashboard for,
No,
for
always open
school
it up.
committee and for our teachers and all that other stuff, so.
He's just laughing at me, sorry, because I have the paper. But this is the whole survey. It's like
It's real.
600 pages. It's a lot of data. So having that dashboard and having it electronically, Dr. Munoz, would be very helpful.
They really, they did a nice job at the workshop last week, demoing it and walking through what it would look like, and I will just tell you, 2-3 clicks of a button and generating the information that we want without having to pick through and interpret on our own is gonna be huge. It's gonna be really, really beneficial.
Mr. Quigley, if people in the community have questions now that we put out
Hmm.
these key indicators publicly, I know Bob, you and Connor are gonna go back to the Board of Health later on in the summer, so there will be a discussion there. Obviously, summer starts soon,
Yeah.
Ryan, but if people did have questions, what's the best mechanism? Who should they reach out to?
I mean, I'd be happy to do the best I can to field questions and provide responses. Again, not sort of knowing to what degree or level folks may be looking for answers or specific information, but I do have this on me too much, and I do check my work email frequently, daily during the summer. So, I mean, I'd be happy to do the best I can to field any questions and respond promptly and honestly, with the information that I have.
Any other questions?
Thank
And
you
they
for
can
your
reach out to
ongoing
me
work.
too, at art@norwoodma.gov.
The schools really have a good relationship with Impact Norwood. Bob and Connor are really, it's a nice relationship right now. A lot of momentum going, I think, absolutely with that. So, all right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. So we're going to move on to our next appearance. We have Mr. Eli Norris here to give us a food services report and guest.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Elijah Norris, Food Service Director with School Nutrition, and with me is the one and only Mrs. Erin Long. She is the Area Director with Chartwells. She oversees me, which can be a full-time job. So thank you for having us. We love coming to school committee and telling you guys the things that we're doing, the things that have happened the last year. Usually we come in the fall and say what we're going to do, and then it's great to come back and say, hey, look, this is what we did. We couldn't have done it without all of the amazing staff. I think we're probably one of the only school nutrition departments that's been pretty much fully staffed all school year. We have a great group of people from the office, our driver, everyone in all the kitchens. Everyone really cares about the kids and putting out a great product. So without further ado, here we go. So we are CEP approved, and if you're not familiar with CEP, it's a community eligibility provision. It's a federal program, and it's basically it's universal free meals. We're already in universal free meals for all of Massachusetts. This is a way that the state can stretch their budget because we'll be getting a little higher percentage from federal, a little less from state. So the state has asked any district who is eligible for CEP to apply for it. Ultimately, to the students, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's universal free. For this current school year, we had 2 audits with the state, an administrative review, which looks more at the program. It looks at the meal patterns, the free and reduced information, and then we had a procurement review. Which looks more at the procurement of everything in the food service department, starting with the Chartwell's contract with the town, all the way through. They were looking at our milk invoices and bread invoices. Some of the corrective action items that came out of it was more legumes. We didn't have enough legumes on our menu the week in question, so we've added legumes everywhere we can wedge them in. Some kids love legumes, some kids do not. They don't have to take them, we just have to offer them and make them available. Another item that came up was the adult meal price. We are currently at $3.74, and with tax that came out to $4. The state would like us to go to a minimum of $4.99. So I believe we're looking at going to $5 for an adult meal price starting in September. The next piece was the wellness policy assessment. It has to be a formal process, and it has to be done every 3 years. When we were reviewed, I think the 3 years had just lapsed, like it was done 4 years prior, so it's just one of the items. I know Mr. Quigley and the whole wellness team has been working on things, and we've had assessments. We got to do it again. We got to start the cycle. And it doesn't mean that there'll be a lot of changes that come from it. It's the process has to happen. Utilize a little bit more of our USDA commodity items. So since we are universal free meals, and since we're serving more meals than ever, we have a positive fund balance. We've been buying better and higher end products to serve the kids, which is great. But we're not getting as much of the commodity items that we were getting before, the generic kind of brown box items. So one of their action items was for us to utilize more commodity value. Going into next school year, we've taken more of our allotment from federal and we've put it towards fresh produce. The DOD department, or the DOD fresh produce program. So we'll be able to utilize more of it in that matter. The next item up was a student meal price increase. I think I've said 3 times already that meals are universal free, but the student meal price would really only affect a second meal. And so far, year to date, we've served just over 500 second meals. So we do about 3 meals a day. It's not much. Most of it, it's first meals, the reimbursable meals that we're serving. But they would like us to increase the student meal price. Norwood Food Service Scholarship. This is our 6th year of doing the scholarship. This is a staff-driven initiative. The ladies and I do a variety of fundraisers, and then we give out some scholarships. This is our 6th year. We've given out 8 total. 2 of them are going out this year. And this is targeted towards the children of food service workers or anyone that's going into the hospitality industry. So we're very excited to do that. This was photos from Norwood Day when we raffled off a Blackstone grill. And now some of the fun stuff that we've done this school year, pedaling around town. We got a smoothie bike, which is fun. It's a little bit exhausting, but it's fun. And the kids loved it. So it's just a way to interact with the kids, get the kids excited about something that maybe they've had at home, but they've never really made one. So with just a few simple ingredients and a little bit of leg power, they can have a smoothie. We did this at a few of the different elementary schools and the middle school. And it was very well received, and we'll be rolling it out again next year. Student Choice is our main high school and middle school program. This is a platform that gives students a voice. We present 2 different menu options, 2 different station concepts, and the students sample them and vote. They can vote a variety of different ways. We've used tablets to vote. We've used text to vote. This particular time in the photo, they had a little piece of paper with the station concepts on it, and they put it into a bucket to vote. So we went old school with the paper vote. And each time we've done it, we get over 500 votes. We do a ton of samples. The kids love it, and it's a great interactive event. The winning concept, whichever gets the most votes, goes onto the menu the following month. And when we've done that, we've seen an 8% increase on the winning station concept. Next up is Mood Boost. This is an elementary-focused program, and this is looking at how foods, what ingredients and what aspects of food will make you feel, have these different qualities. So there's 6 different moodies. They're called like I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm calm, and which things in food can help a kid feel which type of way. It's another great interactive event. The items are on the menu. We do samples. There's some giveaways the kids love, bracelets, trading cards, etc. Now we're grilling. So at the high school for the month of May, we did 1 barbecue a week. It was a long, hot summer, and I'm glad we're into June. But it was very well received. The kids loved it. They had a great time. We had a little music playing. We served burgers and sausage. We did ribs. So on average, we were doing around 600 or just about 600 meals a day at the high school. On the barbecue days, we were doing just over 700. So we did see an 18% increase in participation on those days. And the grill definitely felt that increase. When it comes to financials, so this is year-to-date September through the end of May. Total number of meals is just under 550,000. The revenue, which is mostly the reimbursements from federal and state, come out to just over 2. Paper cost rebates is when Chartwell's, the management company, purchases the product on Norwood's behalf. There's rebates that come back from the manufacturer that go directly to Norwood. So the rebates that have come in are $184,000. Overall, after everything is said and done, we're just up over 5 year-to-date, and we'll look to finish up just a little bit higher than that once we wrap up June. Looking at a 10-year history, it's every year I say the same thing, like we're serving more meals now than we ever have. The meal counts continue to go up, participation rates continue to go up. It's a great problem to have, and it goes back to the staff. We have a great staff. They care. They're getting the kids through as quickly as they can with the best product that we can get. So we're very happy that we have had another successful year. The 3 different colored lines, the blue is the meals, the red is the net food cost, and then the yellow line is the profit for the year. So going back all the way to 2015 to the current school year, you can kind of see the trends. As we all know, we've all seen it at the grocery store with food costs going up the last few years, so it's not a big surprise. But also the meal counts are climbing. And then we go to 24-25 budget. So we're budgeted next year to have another solid year. This is without, this is pending, no changes as far as we know to any of the legislation or free meals, anything like that. We will be returning a la carte to the schools. Currently, the a la carte is just at the high school and mostly at the middle school. Some of the elementary schools have reached out that they want to offer it, 1 day a week, whether it's a Friday or a special, whatever their special day of the week is. But we will be looking at returning a la carte to the elementary schools on a limited basis. That's the budget. And now it's time to get ready for summer. So we are doing a summer program again. We previously had the summer program at the middle school, which is closed for renovation or construction, I should say. So this year we have a summer program at the Cleveland Elementary School, the Norwood High School, and the Willett Early Childhood Center. The programs will run from July 8th through August 1st at the Cleveland and the high school, and then the Willett program will run from July 8th through August 8th. The programs are Monday through Thursday only. Meals must be consumed on site. There's no grab and go permitted. This is a no cost to Norwood, no cost to families. It's a summer program. Instead of having all the kids at the one site, due to the construction, we have it at 3 sites. Next up, if you're watching this live and you want to be a school lunch hero, we want to hear from you. Our staff is, people that live in town, people that have kids in the system. Maybe they want to get out and get a few hours, interact with adults, and interact with children, because that's fun. But we're always hiring, we're always looking for new people to join us. You must love kids and love food. Going in 2024 and beyond, continue in a safe environment. We want all of our staff to be safe. We want all the kids to be safe. We want to continue with the fun and engaging programs as much as we can do in the cafeterias and get into the classrooms a little bit more. And then we want to continue to reinvest in our staff and the kitchens. That's kind of our plan. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
It was so well done, no one has a thing to say.
Sorry.
Thank
We
you.
do have a
Thanks so much.
registered dietitian that comes to Norwood also 1 day a week.
Yeah.
So Shane is an integral part of the group here. Very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so we're gonna move right along to our next appearance. We have Mr. Kerr here to give us the Fine Arts Spring Report.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's good to see you. Just a quick personal note, thank you for your flexibility this year. I know some meetings were here in person, some had to be on the other end of a screen, and I appreciate your flexibility and your support very much. So as I visited you several times to give you celebrations throughout the year, those happen on a weekly and a monthly basis, and that just is part of the flow. When you put it all down on paper and try and concisely bring everything together, it's a lot, and it's really exciting to kind of share that out with you. So what I did is I've split this up into the different arts disciplines, just to give you an idea as to all that we're doing. So we're going to start off in the visual art side of things. Our NPS visual artists were on display all year long, presenting in our schools, as well as partnering with community organizations such as the Norwood Evening Garden Club, the Memorial Library, Norwood High School, Norwood Historical Society. With all of these groups, over 1,100 pieces were showcased throughout the 23-24 school year throughout the town. Additionally, our young artists were involved in the Scholastic Art Awards, MAEA Amazing Emerging Artists, and the MAEA Youth Art Month show. Many of our young artists were recognized at these shows for their work, including Edward Connolly, who was recently recognized in the VFW Auxiliary Patriotic Art Contest and received second place within the entire state. So the art department also went under a curriculum overview and recently presented their refresh for your approval, which was supported by you all, and thank you for that. In April, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Fine Arts Festival, in which hundreds came out to view K-12 artwork and see performances in both theater and music across the district. And it was on a Friday afternoon this year, and it was really well received, and it was nice to see some of you there, so thank you. On the television side of things, the program at the high school, the television program students, under the direction of Mrs. Pam Schnatterly, won an award this year out at Long Beach, an honorable mention in the podcasting category, which was nice to see. Podcasting is one of the new courses that we've instituted at the high school, so it was nice to see some of that hard work recognized at STN in March. Also, it was very sweet, and you probably saw some of the news articles that came out, or some of the clips. But Mrs. Schnatterly and Mr. Tolman this spring had the NHS television students. They were able to welcome the expiring elementary students to come up to the high school to view the studio and do a little bit of work with them in the space itself. So that was really kind of neat to see the younger students learn from their partners. On the drama side of things, we started the year off very early. As you know, the summer musical happens, and we're auditioning for that as we speak. The summer music and drama departments collaborated throughout the summer months for their annual musical theater production. CMS and NHS students worked together to present the musical adaptation of Roald Dahl's Matilda. Rehearsals were held daily beginning in July, with the production being presented in the high school's Performing Arts Center in the first week in September. And as I mentioned, auditions are taking place this week for the summer musical, The Sound of Music, which will go up the weekend of August 13th to 15th. So please mark your calendars now, as we're looking forward to seeing you all there. The CMS drama program continues to grow under the direction of Chris Little. Each of their shows this year, Treasure Island and Mean Girls, supported between 30 and 50 students per show, and were performed to a full house at the end of each run. The NHS drama program put on 3 productions this year: Ghost Light, The Light Through the Pines, which was their festival show, and A Few Good Men, which was just this past week. All year long, these fine young actors brought us along on their journeys. With strong acting, creative set and lighting design, and uncountable hours of rehearsal, the town of Norwood was treated to many a fun night in the theater. And although our younger cast and crew did not advance out of the METG semis this year, held here in Norwood, our students were recognized at the state level for their contributions in acting, stage puppetry, stage management, and most significantly of all, as it is a true ensemble award, they were recognized for stage movement and scene changes. which is something that it speaks very highly to how the group works and the direction that they are under. And then we move on to our music side of things, which is very active and very busy, as you can imagine. The music department presented over 20 concert events this past year, spanning all disciplines of music, K to 12. Additionally, we hosted the Paul Alberta Norwood Jazz Classic, the MAJE State Jazz Finals, and the Micah Choral Festival. Hosting these events provides our students and community with the opportunity to hear other student musicians perform from around the state. The Norwood Public School District Honors Music Festival was even more successful this year than it was last year, with the number of students increasing from over 200 participants in grades 3 through 8. A performance was given in April to a packed house in the Alberta Performing Arts Center. Earlier today at our admin meeting, we were asked to go around and give our favorite moment from this year. And truly, that was my favorite moment. That evening, with the energy and the excitement of a well-packed house and just that many kids up performing, it was really something that I was very, very happy to see. So thank you again for supporting the reorg of that as we move forward. This year also, the CMS Music Department welcomed back the jazz band under the direction of Mr. James Stone. So that is going to continue, and hopefully we'll be able to continue and connect that with the high school as well with Mr. Conant. A concerted effort actually was made by Ms. Jennifer Hartnett and Mr. Stephen Conant to connect their two programs with their respective programs at CMS, led by Mrs. Sheehan and Mrs. McDonald. Because of this collaboration, we are seeing a higher number of students make the transition from the CMS to the NHS music program. It was an awful lot of extra time and energy and effort on their part to make it down when they had preps, or make it down in the afternoon, or go down and literally work with their students and just make themselves. I'm the band guy at the high school. I'm the choral person at the high school. And it made a big difference, and we're seeing that. As a part of the NHS curricular and extracurricular programming, our musicians were active throughout the year and performed at events such as Norwood Day, the Day House, Norwood Tree Lighting, MLK Day celebrations, King Richard's Fair, the Mass State House, the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds, Juneteenth celebrations, and multiple parades. So our performing ensembles are exceedingly busy when they are not in the classroom, and those are all weekends and evenings, and they do it willingly and joyfully. So it is a very, very robust out-of-class experience for our music students. The NHS music ensembles performed for evaluation and ratings at a number of regional and state festivals. Under the direction of instrumental director Steve Conant, as well as his supporting staff, the NHS Mustang Marching Band received a gold medal at the Micah Marching Band State Finals, where only 5 out of 25 bands received this honor. They also placed 3rd in Division 1A of the U.S. Band's Northeast Division. The NHS Orchestra and Band both received silver medals at Micah Concert Festival in April, and the Jazz Ensemble received 3 silver medals, 2 at the district level and the 3rd at the MAJE State Finals in February, which was held in Norwood. Under the direction of choral director Jennifer Hartnett, and the Madrigal Choir and Concert Chorale both received silver medals at the Micah Choral Festival, while under the direction of Mrs. Sheehan, the CMS Honors Choir received a bronze medal. 3 CMS ensembles recently: the 8th grade band, directed by Mrs. McDonald, the 8th grade chorus, and CMS Honor Choir, directed by Mrs. Sheehan, all came home with gold medals from the Great East Music Festival at the end of May. One of the things that I'm most proud of here, and I spent a little bit of time yesterday morning with the elementary instrumental teachers and KNC Music, who is the company that helps support some of the needs that we have, was able to go over and talk with them about our instrumental program, our elementary program. And one of the things that I'm most proud about here in Norwood is our support in starting off students off on instruments at an early age. Violin in the 3rd grade, and then band in the 4th and 5th grade. One thing that makes this possible and sustainable is the continuing effort to provide quality town-owned instruments to our young students at a reduced cost. If a family were going to rent an instrument, it would cost on average about $35 a month if they went outside of the schools. This year there were over 125 students that rented band instruments, and another 160 students who rented string instruments. That's not all of the students that are in the ensembles, but those are just students who rented through the town of Norwood. By supporting the Norwood Public Schools instrumental rental program, we were able to provide a cumulative district-wide savings of over $85,000 for our families. So when you factor in the amount per student, so 285 total instruments at $50 rental cost versus for a total of $14,250 versus one instrument a month times $35 times 10 months times 350 times 285 instruments is $99,750. So it is a massive savings to our community. And every year we wind up going through, and that's what our elementary teachers are doing right now, is they're going through our inventory as they collect it. They're looking at instruments that need to be repaired or replaced or fixed, and then we fund those by the money that comes back in. So just really exceedingly happy to be able to do that by providing this initial support to our families that allows for more students to experience instrumental music at a young age and promotes a solid musical foundation for those who choose to participate. Across the district, we provided 9 extracurricular music activities and 4 extracurricular drama activities throughout the year. This year, we had over 20 students make junior and senior districts, 3 all-state musicians, and 2 students perform with the American Choral Directors Association Eastern Region Honors Choir, which was held this year in Providence. And lastly, I had brought this to you before, NPS was recognized by the NAM Foundation for a 2nd straight year with a BCME designation, Best Communities for Music Education, one of only 23 districts in the state of Massachusetts to be recognized with this honor. There are only 975 districts that are among the best communities in the nation for music education. The NAM Foundation Award program recognizes and celebrates outstanding efforts by teachers, administrators, parents, students, community leaders who have made music education part of a well-rounded education. Designations are made to districts and schools to demonstrate an exceptionally high commitment and access to music education. So all of what I spoke of before just plays into that narrative even more. So thank you. And in closing, it has been an exceedingly creative year here in Norwood, and we have much to celebrate. So thank you for always hearing and being there, or asking questions, or supporting the trips that we do to support not only the musicians, but the visual artists and the drama students and our television students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Kerr?
No, just a brief statement of thank you so much. It's amazing what you've accomplished. And I know when you came into the district and you took over, we were trying to recover from COVID. I know COVID really did impact the music program, and you've been working really hard to regrow the numbers. Thank you for working so hard at getting things back into the Coakley. As Mr. Quigley identified, that's been a huge goal of the district, and your department has been significant in doing that. So I want to thank you. And then for reimagining what could happen at the elementary level when what we used to do is no longer working, and you figured out how to pivot and still support our artists. So thank you.
And in large part, it's in communication and work with the staff. We're bouncing ideas off each other, and they're coming up with things. So I tip my hat more to them, and I'm just the facilitator. I'm along for the ride for many many of the events.
Well, that's also a sign of a strong leader, not taking any of the credit. But I will. I thank your staff as well, but I do thank you, Mr. Kirk.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr. All right, so next we have Mr. Longley to give us the athletics spring report.
Good evening. Thanks for having me, and thank you for all of your efforts this school year as well as we close out the year. We did recognize a lot of these students at our spring awards night a few nights back. We still do host end of the season award nights after each season. So we're going to do our NHS award recognition and our TVL award recognition. We'll do it sport by sport for the spring season. For the baseball team, TVL awards, All-Star was Jerry Fry and Giacomo Serratori. Defensive Player of the Year is Angel Oliveira. NHS Baseball Awards, co-MVPs Jerry Fry and Giacomo Serratori, and Most Improved was Frank Hernan. For boys lacrosse, NHS Coaches Awards, Tom Lynch, Liam Mannering, and Ryan Ronan. For girls lacrosse, TVL Awards, All-Stars Olivia Lodge and Olivia Naughton. Girls lacrosse NHS Awards, MVP Olivia Lodge, Coaches Awards Olivia Naughton and Sophia Venditti. Varsity softball, TVL awards, All-Stars were Natalie Gale and Lizzie Helmar, and NHS awards were MVP, Lizzie Helmar, Golden Glove was Natalie Gale, and unsung hero was Madison Collins. For varsity tennis, TVL awards, All-Star was Partha, Jamal, and Dhaka. And NHS awards were MVP, Partha, Jamal, and Dhaka. And coaches awards, Aiden Civitoni and Maheen Hussain. Girls tennis NHS awards were MVP, Riley Barnett. Coaches award, Grace Chow. Unsung hero, Megan Hobbs. Girls track, All-Star, TVL, Natalie Martin. And NHS awards were Catherine Cronin, Natalie Martin, Jordan Robinson. Boys outdoor track, TVL awards were All-Star, Mike DeJour. And NHS awards were Coaches Awards, Connor Curran, Christian Dolan, and Mike DeJour. Boys volleyball, TVL awards were All-Star, Sebastian Eugene. NHS awards were MVP, Sebastian Eugene. Coaches Award, Micah Papadopoulos, and Unsung Hero, Kyrell Miller. So those were our TVL and NHS Spring Sports recognition. Just a quick recap of the year. We did have over 20 of our teams participated in MIA tournaments this year. We had a state finalist and 2 teams participate in the Elite 8 round, and so we had a lot of over 900 student athletes participating in the program at the high school. So it was a really strong year, a very competitive year with a lot of kids participating and learning and growing and improving and working together, and ultimately that's the goal. So we're looking forward to next year and years to come. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Longley. Any questions for Mr. Longley?
Can you just tell the community of fall sports? I know you just pushed out communication, so registrations are due.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of work this week on fall sports. We had our fall sports information day after school for the kids at the high school on Tuesday. We spoke at the Step Up Day today, and we're a new initiative this year to try and reach the middle school group coming up, because we've tried different methods in the past, meetings at night, things like that, and things change. You got to kind of change your plans. So we're going to go down to the middle school tomorrow during Mustang Block. I'm going to speak to the 8th grade students that are interested. I'm going to have some of the fall coaches with me, and then Margot's going to follow up with the parents. We have a kind of a presentation with nuts and bolts that's also available on the website. People can always check the website. The main piece for the website is the scores, and the schedules are always live and updated. And so, for example, we have schedules up there through the winter season right now. They're already up and they're already live for next year. And so so all of the fall schedules for game schedules are up, and we have registration for the fall is open through the Aspen Parent Portal. All parents need to register using their Aspen login. We have the Aspen support email if people have lost their credentials, but as we tell the kids, it's really important, for your parents or your guardians to have the access to your Aspen, not for athletic registration, but for other reasons as well, like checking on your grades and things like that. So that's all happened. All the basic things are on the website, and we also have our updated NHS introduction kind of template slideshow for people to get basic information about the program and how kind of needs to know types of things posted on the website. We're also going to we had a middle school meeting today for our fall girls volleyball and cross country programs. Terry Martin and Mike Gertie ran that today at the middle school, and we're going to be, we have just the one website, the norwoodmustangs.com, is for actually the high school and the middle school, so we're going to be posting information for middle school registration, which is the same. It's through Aspen, same process, but the middle school schedules are on the same website as well as the high school, the Arbiter platform. So thanks for the assist there.
Of course. And did we post the job for athletic trainer?
Yep, the athletic training position's been posted, so we're receiving applications
Great.
now and hoping
Great.
to get that done.
Good luck.
So,
Sorely needed.
I know last fall was a challenge with the
yeah,
contracted services, so.
I would knock on wood that
Yes.
it'll go better
Yes.
than that. And we did use the updated version of the job description, not the one from 1992.
That's sort of important.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
Any other questions for Mr. Longley?
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Very much.
Okay.
And congrats to all the athletes and the musicians and the artists, and congrats to them all. Okay, all right, so next on our appearances is Ms. Mino is here to give us a Student Services End-of-Year Report.
JJ, there might be Sanborn colleagues trying to be let into the meeting. Just keep an eye out. I don't know who's controlling the.
It's me, but I don't have more than yet.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption.
Good evening. As we come to the close of the 23-24 school year, I'm pleased to be here with you this evening to talk about student services and what our 23-24 school year looked like. As is everything with special education, these numbers are fluid, so we had to mark a point in time to be able to give you that data. When the school year actually closes out, we'll be able to finalize these numbers for you. So, taking a look at enrollment and eligibility throughout the year, in October 1 SIMS report, we had 856 students eligible for special education. This does not include our added district numbers, just the way the SIMS report reports out. March 1, we had 869 students, and we don't have the June 1 number yet, but what we were able to pull from Aspen had 868 students eligible for special education. So our specialized programs in district, as I have shared with you all before, we have quite a lengthy continuum of supports in town. In October, we had 193 students enrolled in our specialized programs, and as we close out the year, we have 212 in our programs. I think of note is that 28 elementary students were referred to specialized programming this year. 15 of those were grade 1 students. So this is a trend that we are seeing as students are able to fully include at the Willett when they move on to the elementary, that the same support and structure is not there. And the number one referral that we keep seeing is behavioral dysregulation. It's the number one thing that takes our time and requires resources and response at this point in time. Out of district, we have 23 students at collaboratives, 1 student at a public day, 50 students at private day, and 6 students who are now residential. As part of our out-of-district analysis, we take a look at why students are leaving the district for additional services. 34 of our students have an autism diagnosis and 19 have an emotional diagnosis. It was very timely that Mr. Quigley was sharing with you all about mental health, as it is something that is certainly at the top of our concern level. And just for statistic point of reference, in the 22-23 school year, we had 16 students at the middle school hospitalized for mental health reasons. During the 23-24 school year, we had 25 students. So we continue to see an increase in the number of students requiring hospitalization around mental health. 25 of our current students out of district are considered move-ins. We define a move-in as a student who comes to Norwood either already requiring an out-of-district placement or requires an out-of-district placement within the first 6 months of being here. So out-of-district continuing, we currently have 24 students at the elementary level and 61 students at the secondary level. Of note, since COVID, 16 of the 19 students went out of district with emotional disabilities. And there's, again, the hospitalization numbers. and 19 of 34 of our students with an autism diagnosis have gone out of district since COVID.
Lori, did you change your slides since you sent
I did.
Did you send us the updated?
I will.
later? Okay.
Really confused.
I definitely will.
Okay.
So the special education evaluations, we are tracking those over the years. This year we will have conducted 467 special education evaluations. We have 3 psychologists who cover that caseload with an average of 155 evaluations a year. JJ, can you move on to the next? Thank you. So I just, to remind folks, a psychologist does the testing, the cognitive testing for students. They do record reviews. They also write the reports and then attend the meetings. So having 155 on average a year is a lot. And it actually exceeds how many days there are in the school year. From our initial analysis of the data this year, there are 90 students who had initial evaluations who are not found eligible. So we will be taking a look at that number as well. So new enrollments, as I explained, are students coming into the district already with IEPs. We had 46 students join the Norwood Public Schools this year with IEPs for inclusion programming. The breakdown is 14 at the high school, 12 at the middle school, 2 at Willett, and 18 at the elementary school. We had 12 students join the district who required specialized programming immediately. And we had 5 students who joined the Norwood Public Schools who continued to attend their out-of-district programs. So 63 students in total have moved into Norwood this year on IEPs. This is a great graphic just to sort of see how our disability categories are spread. Certainly learning disabilities, specific learning disabilities is our #1 eligibility category in district, with a close follow-up by developmental delay and autism. Just as a reminder, a developmental delay disability you can carry until you're 9, and at age 9 you have to fall into one of the other disability categories. So areas that we are watching on a regular basis. The PACS program, as I've spoken to you all about multiple times, our PACS program continues to grow by leaps and bounds. One thing we are watching is that for the 25-26 school year, it's anticipated that there will be 18 students in what is currently 1 classroom at Prescott. So as we have conversations about space and reallocation and those sort of things, the PACS program is something that's really on the forefront of my concern. The other thing we are watching is that the current 2nd grade cohort of students is comprised of a group of kiddos that are very different from the rest of the cohort that's in PACS. So they will nicely stay together as they travel through, but they do not line up as we previously would add like 3rd and 4th grade together or 4th and 5th grade together. They are their own cohort. The LEAP program also is something we're watching just as the LEAP program grows. FY27, we are watching enrollment for potentially needing to increase the number of sections of the LEAP program that we have. I'm way ahead of you.
Oh, I went there and I can't go back. So.
Okay, so new enrollments with IEPs. We started tracking the new enrollments for the 24-25 school year as of May 1st, and we already have 9 students who will be joining us in the fall with IEPs. So the move-in population continues to be something that impacts our service delivery and our ability to be responsive to students moving into district. All of these students are supported by amazing student services staff. The individuals who run our IEP meetings are our team chairs, and this is our current structure of team chairs and how many students they service. And the next slide will show you how many IEP meetings they are actually holding a year. So LMPA had 175 meetings this year. One of our elementary team chairs said she stopped counting at 350 meetings. CMS has had 321, and the high school has had 286 IEP meetings and 122 other meetings. And I will remind everybody that at the high school, our team chair is also our department head, so it's 0.4 team chair, 0.6 department head. So related services, we took a look at total numbers of service delivery on grids broken down by specialty. As you can see, our speech and language caseloads are significantly higher than the rest of our related service providers. The past 2 budget cycles, we have put in the need for speech and language, but as we know, things evolve. But this is a watch area for us because that is significantly outlier to the rest of the department and their services. Reading services. I have been kind of on my soapbox about reading since I arrived. We continue to be concerned about the number of students who are requiring special education services for reading intervention. There are 135 students who currently have on their IEP a specific specialized reading program, and there are 403 students, grades 1 to 12, that have ELA goals and services around reading on their IEPs. So in total, we have 538 students requiring intervention around reading and the different aspects of reading. 18 to 22-year-old program is something we are monitoring. Currently, our LEAD program is phenomenal. They do amazing things with our students, but we are monitoring the cohort who's currently moving through the middle and high school. There's a potential for a second tier of programming being needed in the future around vocational counseling, community college experiences, and expanded gainful employment opportunities for support. Chapter 222 is another area we monitor. This year there have been 14 students through Chapter 222, which I will remind everybody is discipline, that have required alternative educational programming. 3 students required out-of-district programs due to disciplinary infractions, and 11 students received tutoring. And I know, Teresa, you always like to ask me this. This all falls under the out-of-district portion of the budget.
But it was identified. We should find its own budget line. Maybe Matt will work that magic before he leaves. Since you teed that up for me, I will hit it right over to Mr. Wells.
Sorry, Matt.
You will.
So looking ahead to the 24-25 school year, we will be having our on-site review of special education programming and civil rights compliance. We just found out that they will be joining us the week of the 16th. So happy holidays to everyone. They, as part of the review, they no longer do a self-assessment, which previously was an exhaustive and extensive process. They now have narrowed down what it is that they are actually going to be looking at and asking us for. So September 20th, we will have to submit the requested documents, and then they will be out the week of the 16th to see on-site our programs. The other piece that we are looking forward to next year is the new implementation of the IEP form. So all districts must have the new IEP implemented by Thanksgiving. Districts determine individually how they roll it out, so we can decide whether we want to do initials in 3 years, whether we want to do initials 3 years and annuals. We are allowed to have a roll-out process. I am working closely with the CPAC around setting up parent trainings at the beginning of the school year of, this is what your document looked like, this is what it will now be, here's where you can find the same information in the new format. And to date, we have had 4 trainings for our staff in district around the new IEP form, filling it out, as well as our Aspen system of how to navigate the new Aspen system around the new document. So, happy summer. Go Celtics. I wore my green tonight for the Celtics. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Amino?
The data on the reading, I know you've identified this since you joined us. Has that been increasing or staying the same? Do you know off the top of your head?
I wish I could tell you. I have not broken it down like we have this year.
Okay.
I will say that this school year is the first school year I feel like we have had the capacity within our administrative team to actually be able to dive into some of these things.
Okay.
So it is something that we will continue to monitor into the future, but unfortunately I don't have historical
Okay, yeah,
data
just
on
a question for you and Dr. Munoz and Mr. Luff is it would be interesting to look at that data and compare it to like the Wilson training that we brought in and the ELA refresh, and hopefully we have seen those things help our students, but if not, we should talk about that.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Amino.
Thank you.
All right, and last up on our appearances, Ms. Bourgeois is here to give us an ELE year-end report.
Thank you for having me. Lisa Bourgeois, the director of the English Language Education Program for the district. We service students pre-K all the way up to 12th grade. Tonight we'll go through some successes that I wanted to share with you, specifically around the Multilingual Family Fair, talk a little bit about our continued growth within our student population of multilingual learners, a staffing update on our educators that are in the ELE department, talk a little bit about programming, then we'll roll into the most recent Access data scores for 2024, giving an update on our current migrant family population and a discussion about our grants. Okay. So a couple things I just wanted to start off with tonight are just really two common questions that sometimes can be answered with false or assumptions that aren't always accurate. And I think it's really important to address these questions. So specifically, how many English learners are there attending public schools in the United States? I gathered this data from the National Center for Education Statistics. In the fall of 21, which is their most recent data collection that was available, more than 5.3 million ELs were enrolled in public elementary and secondary schools, representing nearly 11% of the total K through 12 student enrollment across the country. So we are not alone in seeing the continued increase of students. The other piece that I really wanted to highlight is that there are sometimes assumptions that our students learning English are immigrants or migrants, when in fact that is actually not true. The majority of our students, not only in the Norwood Public Schools, as well as the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as well as across the entire country, the majority of those students are born here in this country in the United States. So much so that 85% of pre-kindergarten to 5th grade EL students and 62% of 6th to 12th grade EL students are born here in the United States. So I think that's really key, important information to continue to communicate, and part of our job is to educate, and that data is really important to identify as we continue our conversations later on this evening about the grants and our programming. So the first thing I want to talk about is our inaugural Multilingual Family Affair. This happened in April, at the end of April this past spring, and it was hosted at the Coakley Middle School. And just to give some context to the event, it was something that the secondary team of ELE teachers really wanted to do more with parent engagement. And together we collaborated and had conversations and actually tied it to their goals for their professional learning goals to develop an event that would be an opportunity for us to continue to create relationships, create collaboration, and to really educate our families about the wonderful opportunities that we have, not only in our schools, but as well as in the greater community of Norwood. So we were very pleased with the success of the evening. We had over 50 families represented from the district, with about 200 attendees, including children. We had many organizations that the secondary teachers lined up for that evening with, and they're listed here: Norwood Public Library, Impact Norwood, the Norwood Recreation Department, Norwood Wrestling, Blue Hills Adult Education, Norwood Food Pantry, Annie's Closet, the NPS, our tech department, and Norwood Soccer. We had booths set up for everybody. We had music playing. We had snacks and drinks available, and we even did some raffles that night. That was another thing that was really fun. So we were able to, one of the teachers went around to local restaurants and were able to get some donations for gift cards. So that was really fun for the kids to participate and be able to, again, really celebrate the wonderful resources that we do have in the community. I also want to highlight the volunteer effort of the rest of the ELE department. Majority of the teachers did come that are our teachers in the K-5 level, and I was really grateful to see their graciousness of their time that they gave and just hopped right in, whether it was registration, supporting families to walk around that evening, you name it, they were all on board. We also had the 3 family liaisons there that evening to help with interpreting and supporting families as well. We have already met as a team, as a group, to reflect on that evening's event and think about ways in which we will expand upon it for next year. We're definitely looking at hosting it earlier in the school year, in the fall, and already have a list of organizations and other items that we want to bring to the group. This next slide is just growth that we've seen over the last 5 years. So you'll see in the columns, I also included our teacher growth at that, as it directly correlates to the number of students we've had. And I also just want to highlight the fact that in 19, 20, and 21, we did have former English language students identified. However, I didn't have access to those specific numbers. I just wanted to say that. So since 2019, we've doubled our staff, as you can see. We have also greatly increased our population of students from 116 5 years ago to 609 as of today. So we are regularly watching, or I am regularly watching the student population and the growth of our students, as well as the need of our students across the district. The other important piece to this is that and which is a great success, is that the number of students we're monitoring, those are former English language students, because they've met the criteria to exit English language instruction, is still a responsibility that my staff have to monitor those students for 4 school years. So that's why that data is now included, so that really we are servicing close to, you can see, over 780 students. Also looking at this data, you can see that we are easily adding about 100 students that are staying each school year since 21. It's a very fluid population, and what we have seen is a great increase in our newcomer students. So those are students who are learning at the beginning and emerging levels of English. Mm-hmm. The next slide just breaks down further our staffing that we had for this current school year and our paraprofessionals that we have. I just want to, again, highlight the fact that our paraprofessionals for the 23-24 school year are all paid for out of grant funding, typically Title III grant funding. And of course, our teachers are paid out of the general budget. As part of tonight's presentation and thinking about next steps, certainly looking at the potential of increasing ELE teaching staff at the middle school and the high school, seeing that the exit numbers continue to rise, and that's where we get hit the most with that higher number. And I look forward to having some conversations around that with Mr. Leff this summer so that we can plan accordingly. The paraprofessional shift that you're seeing is taking our funding from Title III, which I'll get into a little bit more on a later slide, is to really look at ways to add more programming from our grant monies, because we do pay a large amount of pension and benefits out of the grants, and so we're trying to slowly look at ways to shift some of those roles into the general budget or parts of those roles, and also maybe decreasing where we just don't have the need right now. As a refresher review, our ELE programming over the last 3 years has seen some shifts. Again, one of the biggest things that I took away from my onboarding meetings the summer I was hired was that principal and building leaders really wanted to see more inclusion and have our language learners, our English language learners, within the classroom setting for the majority of the day. And I can say that we are certainly making a lot of progress in that area. At the elementary school level, we are seeing most of our students spending the majority of their day in an inclusion setting. The children that may be pulled out for standalone instruction are our level 1 newcomers who require 90 minutes of EL direct instruction each day. So they're spending a portion of that time with direct ESL instruction, and then spending the rest of the time within the classroom setting with the ELE teacher, alongside the classroom teacher, providing more of a collaborative and inclusive teaching setting. This year at the middle school, we've been trying to shift into more inclusion as well. Dr. Frazek and I, as well as the ELE teachers there, have been discussing that. So this past school year, we were able to implement that and had co-taught classes in social studies, science, and math at all 3 grade levels. We have the 3 full-time EL teachers at the middle school. And so that allows us right now, we've been trying the model of 1 per grade level. It hasn't been easy. The middle school schedule is a challenging dynamic, and again, this is where having an additional ELE teacher would be really supportive to provide, especially for our level 1 and level 2 students. Again, you're going to see more of your ELD level 1 and level 2 students in the ELE classroom, but they're also going to see one of their ELE teachers throughout the day in one of their classes. As we move to the high school, similarly, our co-taught classes are taught in civics, biology, and math. So that's where one of the ELE teachers is co-teaching with one of the content area teachers at the high school levels. As you may recall, we have the multilingual accelerated program. Those are for our students who are typically SLIFE. They've had a lot of interruptions to their formal education. Some have not been in school since maybe 6th grade. They tend to be some of our older students. So we have those classes are purposeful, or that program, so that the students are in there for main core classes during the first half of the day, and then the rest of the day they're spent and able to go work. Again, the ELE classroom time is more for ELD level 1 and level 2 students. As we move on to talk about Access 24, we had 558 students participate in the Access this past January. You'll see the breakdown of kind of their overall composite results, and I just gave you an overall number of where we are at with that. And of that 558 students, 77 students qualified for Access status, which was 13% of the total population, or 77 students. I wanted to provide some context as well to the growth. So this data is representative of students who participated in Access 23, and then again this past school year. And so as this data and this chart share with you, it's broken down by school, and then I have it broken up into the different levels of growth. So we are seeing some real great growth, but now the question is, how can we take that and what's happening at some of the buildings where they're clearly, like the Ball, had 35% of their students, which is our largest population in the district, accomplish at least a half year or over, 1 year of growth. When I say that, it's growth for learning English. It's not that they're jumping up a year in grade level, for example. It's their growth in their English production. So I really want to work with my team in the next steps of the year to think about ways that we can capitalize on some of those strengths and successes and see what is different in each of those buildings to do that. Overall, for our areas of strength, I was able to have some data analysis meetings with two of the secondary teams, so one at the middle school and one at the high school. This first one for the high school, we sat and we did some protocol around the data. And as you can see, areas of strength, things that were noticed was that listening and reading had higher score ceilings, while speaking and writing typically capped at level 3. Our grade 9 performance had the achievement of the highest scores across all domains. So again, I think that is to the credit of the continued work that the ELA teachers are doing alongside the classroom and the content area teachers, and the increase of inclusion. At grade 10, listening and reading, 45% of our 10th graders scored at the ELD level of 6 in listening and reading, which is really wonderful. Areas of growth, we talked about the concerns we have around our speaking scores, that across the grade levels, 100% and 96% of our grade level 11 scored at or below level ELD 3 in speaking, and we discussed what some of those reasonings might be. I'll tell you, having been giving the Access myself for many years, well over a decade, the first time when Access was introduced, the speaking was a one-to-one, person-to-person assessment, and over the years it has transitioned to fully oral and audio, and it's one-to-one with the student listening and then having to respond. So we have had times of technical difficulties, sometimes just lack of confidence to speak into a microphone, sometimes the testing environment, the length of time. This is a common concern across the state with other EL leaders as well, is around those speaking scores. When we look at the Coakley Middle School, areas of strength, we definitely saw students scored at or above ELD level 5s and 6 in listening, and you can see those breakdowns of percentages there for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Oral language and literacy alignment, we are definitely noticing that the oral language is more aligned with the listening than the speaking, and likewise literacy is more aligned with writing than reading for grade 8. Areas for growth, again, very similar as the speaking scores, again, just lower across the board. And just curious and wonders around our inconsistencies around the domains, and the 4 domains are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And then we did notice that the reading scores were the lowest among all domains. Listening was the only domain where we had 3 students score reaching, which is basically level 5, level 6. And most 6th graders had overall scores of 3 and below. One thing I'd like to say about Access data is, and just the nuances of being a language learner, is that the ability to dive very deep into this data is there. So there's any number of reasons that we can have some of these percentages. When did students arrive? How quickly were we giving them an assessment? Their own experience for being in school or academic experience. So we could be here all night and then some, and I know you don't want to be. So I want to talk a little bit about our multilingual homework club and reading groups. So I just have some pictures of some of our students that are there. The pictures on the left and the two on the right are from some of our homework club that had started this past February and just ended about 2 weeks ago. That is at most of the elementary schools. We started that about 2.5 years ago. And then in the middle is a shot of a reading group that is happening on site with one of our groups at the shelter. To get into some of our grants that that I write with the support of people from the financial office. Title III, and I'm including FY23 here because we are able to carry over some of the funding, and I wanted to just bring that to the attention. I'm also showing that the Title III funding will continue to increase each year because it's based on our student population. So this is a non-competitive grant. It is solely based on the number of students we have. Currently, this past year, we used that money for paraprofessionals, the benefits and pension, some of the teachers for Multilingual Homework Club, our parent engagement piece with the Multilingual Families Fair, and supplies as needed. Similarly, for year 24, again, non-competitive, and also used the funding to provide MATSAL memberships and professional development that is hosted through MATSAL. So MATSAL is the Massachusetts Association for Teachers of Speakers of Other Languages, and that membership gives them access to be able to attend the MATSAL conference that just finished up within the last 2 weeks. They have an on-site conference as well as a virtual. And this year, we're also funding the Afternoon Summer Fun Program, which is the extended programming for the Multilingual Student Summer Academy that happens for this summer. I just wanted to highlight the fact that from 23 to 24, we received an additional $12,000 plus from the federal government. So I'm anticipating that we'll get an award of around 100 or low 100,000 for this coming school year. The next grant is our Title IIIA 186 grant. We were granted funding for this. Again, this is non-competitive, and this is based on the number of students that are migrants in the district, and I've used that money for our adult English classes that are hosted at the Balch and taught by Sandy Coulter and Ellen Norton. Teachers for our Multilingual Homework Club, our family liaisons, professional development, and again, classroom supplies. We unfortunately were not awarded with funding for FY25 for 186 due to very specific criteria that seems to get updated annually, and unfortunately, we don't find out what that criteria is until after the awards are given. When I met with Budget Subcommittee last Thursday, we went through what those reasons were, but sadly we did not meet the threshold for 2 of the 4 criteria. However, it looks like we should meet it for FY26, barring they don't make too many changes. And my thought process to this is that it's very possible that I know at the federal level the funding has decreased, which then therefore affects the states, while states are, especially Massachusetts, receiving more and more migrant students. So there's a lot of money to then spread out. A grant that came available this year was this Grant 205, specifically for ESL certification, and reaching out to Dr. Munoz and had a conversation with our union president, Jody Smith, talked about making this opportunity available to educators, and I will say it was met with an overwhelming positive response. Truly just messaged the entire community of educators in the district to see what their level of interest was. There were close to 30 educators who were interested, which resulted in me having to do a lottery. So we do have 8 educators who have been selected to take the DESE-provided ESL MTEL test prep, which is a self-paced course, with the expectation, and this is the DESE, this is the grant guidelines, that they are able to take the test up to 2 times prior to June 31st, 2024. So they're getting paid to do that. I just want to make that clear. But the hope is that having more and more teachers certified for ESL will just add to, again, building the capacity of our our educator teaching force to support our students. The next grant I just submitted about 2 weeks ago, and it is the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Grant, known as 310. This is a competitive grant. I requested a little over $51,000 for that, and based on my calculations, we're eligible for around 40, but we're on the cusp for one of the criteria. And they did specifically ask what our anticipated enrollment for migrant students would be for the fall, and it's nearly double than what it was at our March 1st SIMS data submission. So again, if you kind of just read this, it would be to expand on what we're already doing at the shelter with an after-school reading and social emotional group, and then to also try to add something for our secondary students, and then to expand on what the CSCE is already doing. They're there one morning a week, working with our infants through toddlers and their families, so to hopefully increase that to 3 days a week. Providing monthly parent meetings for families that will address school-related topics, providing 20 Chromebooks for elementary students to stay housed at the shelter site, provide 6 seats for Ignite Reading for elementary students. That is a $2,500 per seat cost, and that would, kids can go in and out of that seat, so it's not just 6 kids the whole year. And that would, of course, be based on need. A summer program experience, providing all EL students who are attending the Multilingual Summer Academy this summer to do a field trip on a duck tour. So again, to expand their opportunities and to get to the city and be able to share and have opportunities that they may otherwise not have. Administrative assistance to attract and engage both students and families to the programs, and supplies and materials. I do not have a date on when I expect to hear from the state on that. An update for our migrant families. Just recently, myself and the Central Registrar, Ms. Sullivan, arranged an on-site visit with the families that are currently, that we're still attending North Attleboro Public Schools, even though living here in Norwood, because they chose to do that, and that's their rights through McKinney-Vento, and just kind of touching base with them again to decide if they wanted to stay with NAP at North Attleboro or to transition to Norwood Public Schools. I see a typo there, but that's for NPS. Also now working with, we've created a nice partnership with the CCA, which is the on-site nonprofit organization that is supporting our families there and providing wraparound services so that we can continue to collaborate on students, families, school information, and other resources. In this role, I continue to be the main contact for the Norwood Public Schools. And as an update, and this is due to Governor Healy's address, was that starting September 1st of this school year, the state will begin to transition families across the entire Commonwealth who've already been within the program for 9 months to start moving into permanent housing so that these families are signing leases. We do anticipate that some of the families that are living at the shelter site now will be signing leases over the summer because the CCA and the site manager there are working very proactively to help families get transitioned at a time where they have a little bit more time versus at the start of the school year. As a reminder, as families do transition out of the shelter, new families will be moving in. We recently received, they received about 8 new families, but mostly with children under the age of 4. And they're getting, it seems right now, either some kids or families that are already in the shelter system and or true newcomers to the country. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Bourgeois. Any questions on this? Yes.
Dr. Munoz, if you look, would you just go back to slide 6? Lisa, just talking about what you were hoping to get out of a grant and into the operating fund. So, are you just looking for the movement of the 1.2 paras, or you're also looking for an additional 2 teacher FTEs?
So the paraprofessional piece is covered. That we've already taken care of.
In the FY25 budget, we
Yes,
already moved the
that's
0.4
done.
at Coakley and the 0.8 at the high school.
Nope, not, it's just 0.3 is coming out of the general budget, 0.5 will still come out of the
grant. Okay.
grant. Yep,
Okay. But you're anticipating this summer talking with Mr. Luff about additional teacher FTEs?
Yes.
So 1 at the Coakley and 1 at the high school?
yes, ideally,
Okay.
yes.
So that is something that could potentially come back to us this summer?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, because as, you know, with the breakdown of the population with that greater chart that I shared at the budget subcommittee.
Yep.
The need is definitely there, and as I've continued to express, even when I talked with you all in the fall, I am very realistic of the current financial landscape and looking forward. However, I also know that the caseload for my EL teachers at the middle school and the high school are well over 35 to 40 kids. And we also have the responsibility for students that haven't made 2 years of progress on access to have a multilingual student success plan written. Those are very similar to the process of an IEP, and that requires a team to collaborate, to get together, to discuss the goals for that child, and they can be in either all 4 language domains or just a couple. They're also required to provide the documentation of what interventions they're providing to students and to progress monitor, to look at assessments, and then communicate that with family members, and then go through the school year, making sure that they're on target, and then wrapping them all up again at the end of the year. Those are done annually, and we get that list in, I hope, late summer. Last year we didn't get it until mid-October, which is really, really challenging for my teachers to be able to do that. And again, that hits my secondary team in larger numbers than the elementary team. My kindergarten, first grade teachers don't have that impact. The upper elementary more so, right, because it's 2 years of data. The other piece is, and as I mentioned with the monitoring, is that to be monitoring a student, they are collecting anywhere from 2 to 3 times a year from whether it's the classroom teacher or the content area teacher, progress updates with a report that does get shared and sent home to families, and we're solely doing that to see if there are any children who would require reclassification and coming back into ELE programming.
Okay. And then just 2 more things. So we're starting to meet again with the Budget Balancing Committee next week, Anne Marie and I, and that work will continue over the summer. So one thing that might be helpful for us to have from you and Mr. Luff to help justify arguments, I understand why you want to move positions out of the grant, because then you have more money for programming. Might be a little bit of a hard sell to be able to adjust to our counterparts, because then that's going to add benefits to the shared costs. So if you can put it on your to-do list over the summer to help us articulate the benefit of that, I think we would find that helpful.
I think also just to give some context there is that since 22-23, and I didn't put that data here, I had already done a reduction in the ELE paraprofessionals. So I will continue to communicate and with the building leaders at those buildings that do have current paraprofessionals, as well as with Mr. Luff. But my hopes, and I'm just being really transparent, is to get it down to an area where we actually won't have ELE specific paraprofessionals. I would rather, again, put that money toward programming, and I strongly feel that our students have a lot of the appropriate supports that they need currently under what is available at their individual schools. So, for example, the Oldham has had one for the last couple of years, but their numbers have decreased a bit, and so it's not warranted. Again, this, as we all know, has nothing to do with the person in those roles, it's the position. And so, again, I try to be really thoughtful about forecasting the future, and again, I feel strongly that we have a lot of staffing in place to support our students appropriately, and that I would like to just slowly transition them out.
Okay. And then just a point that I think I make every time you come, but I think it's important people understand how much of your work is supported by grants.
Yes.
And what you ran us through today is $250,000 of your work is supported by grants and not in the operating budget.
Thank you for saying that. I just sat and just added that all up.
It's $253,525.
Awesome.
Approximately.
Yes, if the money is there, I'm willing to, if I have the good participants and people that want to do it, I'm happy to do it. But yes, a lot of our additional programming is made available to us through grant funding.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Bourgeois, for your update. Alrighty, so that concludes our appearances for the evening. I am going to pull out of order, and I think we might have to pause for a minute just to try to let in our Sanborn. So you might have to accept that I changed it to you in like an email. Yeah, well, we can shut that off for a second. So the link to the meeting this evening, we had to make sure the ownership was correct to be able to allow
add the people in.
So I transferred ownership to JJ, and now he should be able to.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So hopefully. Yeah, it came in it. Yeah. So hopefully now, if.
Why do we lose the projection?
She didn't want people to watch him maneuvering the system.
Right, checking checking emails is not.
We'll put it back on.
Yeah, it's just on mute. It's not actually off.
Yeah.
Oh, and it disappeared from the school calendar, but that's okay. Yeah, but the link should stay the same. So I don't know if I'm gonna text Donna or if Diane, if you're listening, if you could ask her to try to request it again.
Wait, what?
Diane stepped away.
Did she?
Diane, what?
She stepped away.
Ah.
She stepped away. Sorry. She stepped away.
Oh.
There she is.
Okay, so you were able to. You don't have a request from
I don't
Priya?
have a request from her yet.
Okay.
So I don't know if she needs to do unrequest and request again.
So for those playing the home game,
I'm gonna jump in and then have if Diane. Would you mind emailing Priya again the link?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
we'd
then
have to change ownership of the meeting invite so that JJ could let her in. Sorry. Technical difficulties.
Thanks, everyone. And should I start?
Yeah. So just as I didn't really finish the thought. I kind of just like started it and then stopped because that squirrel. So we're gonna pull the student. I'm sorry. Where are we now? Old business. The elementary study, number 2 under old business, we're going to pull that up now so that our Ms. Ferreira and our representative from Sanborn can bump off the call and not need to be here all night long.
Yeah.
So just wanted to let everybody know that we were moving that up.
Yes, and I'm not really anticipating, you guys may have questions for them. They're here sort of just as a just in case. This is more about doing a recap of what next steps were, and tonight what we want to do is approve the outreach. What I'm hoping is to get approval for the outreach calendar, to have the story maps okayed to be posted, and then for us to advertise the webinar that's going to be on Monday, June 17th. So I sent content to you on Monday afternoon. We were still making tweaks with our partners to those, and so those were sent on Monday, and then since then we received some very helpful notes, and we've not very much substantively changed, but revised a little bit, and so the freshest links are available to you on the agenda. So I was wondering if we could bring up the
We can.
the outreach,
The outreach?
the elementary.
Outreach plan.
Yes. And then I'll just go through the dates real quick. Not to bury the headline, one of the things that was discussed was giving us more time to get feedback. So what we've done is we suggested, instead of a September vote, we've suggested here to have an October vote. We've added another
I've added to the calendar doing rolling updates to our FAQ document based on the survey results and based on the work that the working group is doing with administration. If we want to be adding that to the FAQs, and then along with our July and August updates. Although those dates aren't specified, I think I just knew that it was the 24th, so I'll put July 24th, and I don't think our August date is finalized, but in any case, we can update those rolling FAQs. So if you'll just go down, the plan is to have a forum on the 14th and a session, a check-in with staff when they're back, and not immediately, because it's a crazy time to come back in September. It's a crazy time for everybody, I guess, in September. And so whenever that makes sense in the fall, and then closing the survey out, and then analyzing all of that work. So that's kind of how that shifted, and I'm hoping you guys, I'll take any questions, and that will be good to go. And then additionally, we have the storyboards, which is just basically the presentation that you saw last week, except you can interact with it. Mm-hmm. So our families, our community members, and you all, as you experienced, go into a link and you can click around on the map, or like find your house, or look at what makes up a component of these districts. And so that would be pushed out tomorrow, along with information about our webinar, which is going to be Monday the 17th. We did a run through today, and the way that will work is you'll see, again, we're going to do that presentation just for the public, talk to them a little bit about how to use the story maps, and then take questions. And then that will be recorded and pushed out for those who can't make it, because again, everybody's busy. That recording will be then available and pushed out on after I guess on the 18th, through Parent Square. And then I just wanted to, excuse me while I put my glasses on, I'll just talk you through, we got into this a little bit last week, about the outlets that we're going to reach out to. So we've got, we're going to post on our website, emails from the principals in the different school communities are going to go out to families that include information about the documents that we're talking about, as well as the invite for the webinar. We're going to do an all staff email as well, because there's going to be a separate staff survey. We want to collect, make sure we're collecting relevant and good information from the staff as well. And then we're going to do an email to town meeting members. We can all remember that this was a warrant approved by town meeting to look into our elementary optimization given the fifth graders moving up. So that's a follow-up to them, and if they want to participate in the survey, they certainly can. We're also going to reach out, make sure that our LMPA, of course, is included, but our CFCE families, we're going to work through the coordinator there as well to get information out. Is there anything that you guys saw here that you had any questions about or wanted me to address or possibly follow up with?
Sorry, still having technical difficulties.
I'm so sorry.
Diane, I'm just going to leave the call and come back in, so don't think that I have left you guys.
She said that, Priya said that she's been trying to get into that same link. She's calling me on the phone now.
Well, I'm gonna log out, Diane, and
we
come back in.
We might not need her. Do you guys have questions?
I'm gonna log out and come back in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Don't go off the call.
Okay.
To your point, Joan, if you don't have questions about the story map, it's really just a matter that would be more.
Yep.
What?
Now we got her.
We would need them for.
There we go. Sorry. Yes. Go ahead.
I mean, I have no questions about the story maps. I have no questions about communications timeline. The only question that I had from the last meeting was the Title I funding.
Yes, thank you. That is in progress. So that's going to take more input from our central office staff, who has, in the week between, it just hasn't happened. There's going to be a memo about how Title I will impact our assessment, but basically it's going to be another category of information that we will need to look at with administration when we are doing a pros and cons list, and along with all the other data, including community input and including programming information and how, obviously that's a budgeting piece, so that's going to be part of the budgeting as well.
Can you clarify what you need a vote from us on this evening then to move forward?
To approve the timeline, and that's basically the revised timeline and approval to post publicly.
So moved.
Would anybody like to second that?
Nobody wants to
Oh,
second.
I know, it's like,
Guys,
Lord.
come on, man.
Oh, there's Priya. Hi, Priya, so sorry.
Yeah, I second.
Teresa's seconding that. Any discussion?
No worries, you're here.
We may not have questions for you anyway, but I just summarized where we're at, but thank you for being here. And Ashley.
Any other discussion before we vote on that?
So tonight, if we approve, you're posting the timeline, you're pushing out surveys, and you're getting ready to launch the webinar on Monday?
Yes.
And then you're also sharing the story map. Is that correct?
Yes. Pretty much all the information. I would like the public to be patient to the extent that it could be the end of day tomorrow, just with all of the folks that we sort of have to work with and sites we're reaching out to. So get them as soon as possible tomorrow. But all of these pretty much ready to go. It's just a matter of pulling the trigger, so to speak.
The public forum on the 14th, is that an expectation that the full school committee is there? Is that a working group forum? What is the format of that?
I think it would be a good thing for as much of the school committee to be there as possible. It's mainly an opportunity it would be an opportunity to ask questions both of our partner, our Sanborn partner, about technical things, but also, yes, we would want to be represented as well.
Right.
Any other discussion?
No, just thank you, Kate, for taking into consideration feedback that we've provided. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And just to that point, those rolling updates will reflect the continuing questions and feedback that we receive. I also wanted to, yeah, that's it. So as we look at the survey, as we hear from folks, we'll try to provide as much and get ahead of and be proactive with as many things that are on people's minds as we can. There's also going to be an FAQ document coming. That wasn't necessarily needing an approval, but it's in progress with the working group. So I'm going to and I didn't want to promise that it would go up tomorrow too, but the public can expect to get that as well. And it's pretty soon because I want it to be in conjunction with the survey and everything. So.
Great.
Okay. All right, so seeing no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kate, are you opposed? So that passes 5-0. Thank you very much. And I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm glad you guys finally made it on. Thank you for hanging on for so long.
No problem. We look forward to the webinar on Monday and hope to get the whole community involved. It's going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Have a great night.
All right, so we're going to jump right back into the regular flow of the agenda, and the next item is the superintendent's report.
Which is not going to be very long because I want to respect everyone's time. So I'm just going to take this time to say this is obviously the last school committee that I will be as acting superintendent. And so I just want to thank the school committee for allowing me this opportunity to do the work alongside you guys and the work with the teachers and the staff of Norwood. And I am more than happy to give my seat to the incoming superintendent, Tim Luck, as he's sitting over here in the stands. And so I can go back to that chair where Matt Wells is sitting at and sit over there and whisper to Teresa during school committee meetings if I need to. But it's been an honor to serve as acting superintendent for Norwood. This is a phenomenal community, and the teachers work hard extremely every day. And I think I have a great relationship with our union president, Jody Smith, or else she wouldn't come see me every Friday on her own accord, off work hours. And so, I'm going to continue that relationship, continue with my relationship with the teachers and the staff, and hopefully the school committee. But it's been an honor to serve as acting superintendent, and we have 6 more days before my last superintendent update comes out. So I can't wait.
Dr. Menez, I just want to say your superintendent updates have been great. I really appreciate the frequency of them, the depth of them, the creativity behind them. I laugh at least one thing every week in it with your gifs and everything. So thank you.
I try a little bit.
They've been great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, short and sweet it was. So we are on to the next item. We're going into budget. So first item is student services review update. Mr. Wells, would you like to kick that off?
Student Services Comprehensive Review RFP, we received no bids on that. So we are regrouping a little bit, going to carry over into the next fiscal year, and during the summertime have some conversations about what is the best approach to take at this point in time. We knew this was going to be an issue. We really, we could not identify organizations that do this type of an audit. It's very comprehensive, quite large, and there was some interest. There were some people that did actually ask for it, but nobody submitted any proposals. So then next steps are going to be to just regroup a little bit, figure out exactly what is our best bet to move forward. Maybe chunk this down a little bit into items that we know firms that actually do these types of audits on. Look at those and maybe do. There'll be much smaller costs at that point, and we can do quote processes on those and try to move forward and maybe and just take it as it comes along and see what we can get done. But that's definitely going to have to regroup, I think, in the new fiscal year.
I think we were ambitious. Yes.
I'd just like to ask a clarifying question about that. So it's not that there aren't companies that do student service audits. It's that we were kind of doing student services, nursing services, everything all at once and calling it a student service audit.
Yeah,
So
very, very large.
what you mean by chunking is matching the request of like the target area of the report to the types of firms
Yeah.
that do that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear because we did get the funding for this from town meeting, and it's not that we can't find people to do it, it's that we tried to squish everything together. We
Yes,
just need to be a bit more strategic about how
It
we
was
go
an
forward.
incredible RFP. It was well written. It was very all encompassing. It was great.
We're trying to value engineer. That's what we're doing.
We tried to value
Yes.
engineer.
Yeah, there are just simply no firms that can take the entire thing in.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So do you need anything from us at this time? Right now, you guys are just going to get back together and kind of decide as a central?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to update, because originally we were targeting to announce who the vendor was going to be tonight. Would you just check, Mr. Wells, the warrant article? I believe it was open-ended that we would be able to use the money. I just want to confirm the expectation was not that we had to choose somebody in FY24.
Yes, I will definitely get into that and get back to you on that.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item is taking a little out of order because we usually do budget subcommittee update first, but budget subcommittee update.
Yeah, so in your packet, I have a couple of things for you from the Budget Subcommittee. You have access to our draft minutes from June 6th, as well as our agenda and the material that we reviewed on June 6th. You have a copy of the shared cost allocation agreement that I'm going to talk about very briefly, and then you also just have my notes for tonight that I typed up. So we had met with Lisa and Lori in detail, and you've already heard from them, so I don't have to go into that, but they did provide additional information to us that you have access to if you wanted it, that we reviewed at the subcommittee. In a moment, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Wells, and he's going to take us through a number of lingering FY25 questions and considerations. So you'll see some of it pulled out in my notes, but I'm going to let Matt go through that, and then I'll just jump in as needed. We are meeting again tomorrow as a subcommittee. On Friday, Matt and I are going to be meeting with Mr. Mizuko, Jeff O'Neill, who's the director of finance at the town, and apparently like 6 other people from general government are all on this meeting invite. But we're meeting with them to review the shared cost allocation agreement, which you have in your packet. As a reminder, we are supposed to review and vote on the shared cost allocation agreement every year by July 1. This year will be a little behind that just because everything has been going on. My understanding is that our current shared cost allocation agreement stays in place until we vote a new one. So the one that we currently have will just carry over until we work with the town. The biggest issue that we're working with the town on is that determination if the compensated absences will become part of a shared cost. So I guess one thing I would like to ask all of you is if you have any questions, concerns, direction on that topic. the compensated absences that we've talked about a few times since October. If there's anything that you want Matt and I to take into our meeting on Friday.
Is there any new information?
No new information, it's all the same.
Very similar. Can we get a paragraph that's agreed to by both the town and the school?
Well, we haven't
committee
agreed, yes, we haven't agreed to anything yet. That's what we're hashing.
No, I'm asking, can our lawyers agree on what it is that we will be voting on?
Well, that's part of why we're meeting on Friday.
Great. That's what you're asking. You're asking me what I would like for you to take
Yes.
into the meeting.
Yeah.
I'd like for you
You
to
can
walk
take
out
it.
of the meeting with a paragraph that explains how compensated absences work, that both our town council and our
Yeah.
school committee of council agree on.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Can you also-
We can't vote until we have that.
Oh, no, I'm not asking for a vote today.
No, I know,
yeah.
I'm projecting.
At the next one.
Yeah.
Can you also get information as to what the long-term benefit is? Because they're like, oh, it's $50,000 in savings. Okay, well, is that going to be every year, or is that a one-time thing? So I'd like.
It would be every year, is my understanding. So we've been talking about this since October, when it kind of caught us off guard.
Yes.
Back in October, I wrote a whole memo and I compiled as much information as I had. That memo that I wrote in October is still what I have and what I know. We're just meeting with them on Friday because Matt's been trying and I've been trying. And we're at the point now, twofold, like the shared cost allocation agreement is supposed to be signed by July 1.
Yep.
And two, if we're taking out that $56,000
Roughly, yeah.
out of our FY25 budget and putting it into the shared costs, that is a decision we should make over the summer with Mr. Luff, because then that's $56,000
Right.
that we can move elsewhere. We've had a couple iterations of this discussion. At one point, the majority of the committee did not want to sign on to the shared cost.
We wanted to wait.
Is that, right, so
But
is that
and
where
then-
people are?
but-
Because I don't want to go into Friday.
Let's continue the timeline, and then we got information from the town's attorney,
Mhm.
and many of us shifted, and then we got information from our attorney, and then
Mhm.
many of us shifted back.
I know.
And now we're back to, I mean, so I'm being somewhat facetious, but I do not have a position until legal counsel agrees on what happens.
I think to Joan's point, obviously, we tried to connect that.
tried.
And there was very differing things that we had been told that town council had understanding. So it was very, I admittedly always for it, but even after that, I was like, whoa, let's hold on a minute. So yeah, I think I agree with Joan. We just need something in writing that says that it's not gonna remove our ability to, negotiate contracts. It's not gonna, just those things that we wanna protect that moving forward.
So there's two different things I think that I'm hearing. So one, back in October, what we were saying we wanted from the town was an agreement specifically on this issue. And the questions that David's asking, long-term, and Joan's asking, and Anne-Marie that you just brought up about our right to negotiate within a contract. That's gonna be a little separate from what we agree in the shared cost allocation agreement, correct?
Yeah, the shared cost agreement will just, it will speak directly to the fact that we can utilize that fund to move our expenses, to have those expenses covered by that fund. That's what the shared cost agreement will say. Yeah, so so it sounds like we're looking for a secondary piece that explains to the membership that it does not affect your ability to operate as you do normally.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems backwards that you would figure out what you would do with the money before we decide if we're actually gonna have that money.
Which is why I've been trying to get this solved
No,
since
I know. I'm
October.
just
So now we're trying to solve two things at the same time. I'll share out again the memo from October. Make sure you see it as well before we meet on Friday.
Perfect.
Your memo is great. The legal folks.
I know.
I'm
just
I don't know
asking
how
for
many
the-
different ways to say this without.
No, I know what you're saying.
essentially continuing to
I know
call
what you're
out
saying.
legal counsel.
I'm just seeking some guidance before I go into a meeting on Friday, so that I make sure whatever Matt and I walk out with meets what all of you are looking for, so that hopefully come July 24th, we're putting this issue to bed one way or the other.
So then do you want a motion so that you have the will of the committee? Or
Perhaps.
or is this not?
I was just trying to get a pulse of, because we've talked about it in different ways and I didn't know where everybody was.
My second question, as a follow-up to my other one, and I recognize that it's in the memo,
Yeah.
is, but if compensated absences are going to be a variable where they change year to year, I want something concrete that says, okay, over 5 years, if you have people leave or come back or this, that it's worthwhile. So I want you to, if you can just ask that.
In terms of the whole town? Is that what you're asking?
No, just like our side, right? Because if it's 56 this year, what if, I don't know, people left and signed contracts more favorably? Does that, $56,000 that's now supposed to be every year go down to 40?
No. So you're, whatever your costs are associated with your separation costs, that goes off to that fund. And if it's $50,000, it's $50,000. If it's $150,000, it's $150,000. It's not tied to that. What it's doing is, that rather than covering those expenses with your budget, you are covering it with this fund. So you have $56,400 built into your budget. You've been using that to cover these separation expenses for years. I don't think the budget's changed much over the past couple of years. No. One year, maybe $25,000. One year, maybe $200,000. But your budget's $56,000, and if you do it within your budget, you have to cover whatever that number is. Now, with the fund, those expenses go to that fund, and that fund is there to cover those expenses. And that $56,400 you have as a budget line item can now be drawn down to zero, and that budget money can be reallocated into other lines where you have expenditures that you would like to spend it on.
It's kind of like an insurance premium.
Yeah, and it's a, it was a, again, when you're looking at, your bond rating and everything for the town, you want to do these kinds of things to limit the liability for the town, which makes it look like well, it doesn't make it look like you are being very, forward-thinking in your planning to protect the district against large costs that may be coming at it. It helps with everything when you're being rated, as far as that goes.
So we need the legal piece.
It's literally just, it's a fund that sits
says
there, it's been funded,
can still
and you're just moving
negotiate.
expenses to it.
And to David's point, 10 years from now, what does that 56,000 look like?
So the 56 only gets reallocated in our budget 1 year, FY25.
Yeah, and then it's wherever it
So
is.
right now it's a line item.
Yeah.
Right, and the town already started the fund. Town meeting approved that has started. What do we put, Amory, 1.5 million?
1.5 million.
Right, 1.5 million from free cash. So right now there's $1.5 million in there. The town has already moved ahead this current fiscal year 24, using that fund to pay any of their compensated absences.
Shared cost never goes down. It's very, right? Have we ever had a time where things got less expensive?
Not that I'm aware of.
No. So that's what so we're gonna donate $56,000. We're gonna pay it.
No, that's staying in our budget.
It's gonna stay in our, but it comes off the top, right?
Shared
money doesn't magically come
shared
from nowhere.
cost comes off the top.
Right, comes off the top. So my question is it always gonna be 50, how is that number going to increase over time that's coming off the top?
You're probably going to run, you're going to run around that average of, $40,000 to, $70,000. It's going to happen. It's going to be in that range. Generally you have, your retirements are not, you can't plan them. They're not linear. Yeah. But there's still, you generally see what the retirements are. So they don't vary too much.
It would go up if it was in our own budget anyway, right?
It would.
Yeah, but if we know what the number is, we would raise that budget up. So, but now it's no longer your responsibility to fund it through the budget. It's funded through this fund. So whatever that expense is, it just gets charged directly to the fund.
And I'm just curious to know how it's going to come off the top.
The initial conversations that we had, right, exactly. No,
that's my question.
That is your question, because initially when we were told about this, we talked about funding mechanisms, right, for that fund, and shared cost wasn't the funding mechanism, but it was.
So your question is about a replenishment, really?
Yes.
Which I don't believe.
So right now there's 1.5 million in there. It's going to take a little while for that to be brought down.
Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically. Unless there's a really good run on retirements, which I could happen, I suppose. But, I think the funding mechanism comes up when that is finally drawn down. You're going back to the town meeting and probably more free cash. I don't know what the vote was specifically on that, if it addressed how funding was.
No, it hasn't been addressed yet.
That's the question that I think is getting people really bottled up, is that it was just a one-time allocation of the 1.5 million, and then there's been talk of free cash, there's been talk of, having it be a shared cost. Well, which one is it? So we just have never.
There's just too much confusion.
I would say logically, as we move forward, you spend down that 1.5. I know, I'm sorry, I keep throwing logic out there, and I apologize for it. But logically, you spend down that 1.5, and you get to the point where you have to replenish. If town meeting says, oh, no, we're not going to replenish that again, we don't think that counts necessary, then you're going to have to, in that year, reestablish your budget line and build that budget in there. And it's going to be very explainable about why you had to add that budget item back in there, so. But again, I'm sorry with the logic.
Yeah, sorry with that. So just, again, I'm just looking to see something written, agreed, that the town agrees, like, you're right, it sounds great, that makes total logical sense to me. That does not mean that that's what you're gonna come out of this meeting with.
Yeah.
And that's what I want, is I want it written down, agreed to by both the town and us, kind of, like, just so that we're all on the same page when we know that we're
So
voting.
what I think I'm hearing, but let me ask. Is the committee saying that until we have an agreement about the whole thing that we've been asking for since October, we are not entertaining it adding into the shared cost allocation agreement?
Yes.
I don't know what we'd be agreeing to, because the attorneys are still fighting about what it actually means, separate from the replenishment. The attorneys are still fighting about how it actually works and what position.
Are they communicating?
They did.
They did. They have. Okay, that's all.
And then it dropped, but we're the employer of record who's responsible for negotiating with 5 unions.
Yes.
We cannot do that in good faith if we do not understand how this is gonna work.
Agreed.
So that's what it boils down to for me. And if I've got one legal counsel telling me one thing and another legal counsel is saying another thing,
That's where they
I'm not
lost me.
aware.
I was all for it. I was like, woo, get this out of our budget.
me
I'm
too.
like, get the town's money. And then I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely need a little more clarity.
So it's not the whole, I don't need the whole thing, like, I would be willing to be like, if they say, we're gonna figure that out in 10 years from now, once we draw down, okay, like, whatever, but like, the basic fundamentals of how it impacts our ability to be the employer of record in union negotiations
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
that's
So-
a kill switch for me.
Sure, but that's beyond the shared cost allocation.
Yes, but especially where it is a concern of our attorney, like, we need to absolutely get that discussed. I feel like when we had conversations in budget balancing, it was like, oh, this is, no big deal. Why are you guys so worried? And it's like, well, our attorney's worried, so we're gonna naturally take the cue from the person with the JD.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not promising magic on Friday, but okay.
Nope. You asked what you could come up with.
No, I know,
That would help
but
with
but you guys know I've been
compensating.
trying to solve this since October.
No, I know.
So maybe Matt has all the magic answers, and I don't know.
It's got 2 weeks of fairy dust left.
We will try, and then I will bring it back to all of you in July at where we are.
That's good.
Okay. So the other thing is Budget Balancing Committee is starting to meet again. We have a meeting set for Monday at 1. Anne Marie and I will be there. Matt's coming, JJ's coming, and I believe Mr. Luff is going to join us as well, just so he can have that exposure to that group. I believe the goal of Monday's meeting, first we have to elect a new chair. I believe it's the FinCom's turn to chair the BDC.
Yes.
And then we will mostly see it as a summer planning meeting and determine what work we're starting over the summer, because as everybody knows, FY26 is a little concerning, and there's a lot of work that we need to determine already and work on over the summer. And then 2 other things that we talked about last week that we will circle back later on tonight's agenda are the rental fees for next year, and then also revisiting our MOA with the rec center around extended day. But for now, I will turn it over to Matt to take us through where we are in the FY25 budget.
Okay. So I thought it might be a great idea to go through the budget again and just kind of run through it. We won't talk about every line that's in there because, oh my goodness, we don't have that kind of time. But I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm going to skip over some things because there's some stuff that it should be pretty clear that we don't need to talk about. But there's some other items I do definitely want to point out to you. So the budget document is in your folder.
Do you want JJ to pull it up?
He could. He can pull it up. Yeah.
That's one thing I did.
Which one is that?
It's so if you go in the FY25 budget, it's the workbook.
Workbook?
Yeah.
1.43 FY25 budget workbook.
So not the cartwheel memo.
Sorry for my naming convention, but
The 1.43
there are a lot of
million.
iterations of this, and I just need the numbers to keep it clear. All right, so the first section, school committee, not a lot of change there. Under district admin, if you look at row, what is that? The salary admin confidential secretary. This is where we had that $40,000 that we put in for the CFCE position, with Tony agreeing to help us with to fund the position. That is the money that's available for reallocation. to cover needs that we have within the district. But again, that's going to be a post-July 1st conversation with Mr. Superintendent Luff comes on full-time. And you can talk about that, kind of hold it until you find a need for it.
Are you on the summary? Or?
Yeah, which tab are you on?
Oh, I'm sorry, the FY25 detailed budget tab. The second tab.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And the twos.
All right, where was I? Okay, so jumping around a little bit. Right, so we have a couple of, on that line as well, on that line 30, we have some additional shredding that we've put into there. There's also money in there that helps with the first year of the superintendent for any needs that he has as being a first-year superintendent. There's some additional PD that may have to happen. We've built some money in there. Scrolling down to Finance and Administration Services, 1,400. On row number 43, that is the absorption of a financial analyst that was it was funded through the extended day revolving account, which will no longer exist when we hit July 1st. So that was absorbed into the budget. Going through section 2100, these are all district-wide academic leadership. It's mostly salary that are in these positions, in these lines. Going down into school building leadership, 2200, same thing. These are all salaries really that are built in here. No real increases to any of the expenditure lines as they were level funded. 2305 is instruction and teaching services. Again, mostly salaries within these lines. And these are contractual agreements. If you go down to row 249, this is where we did a blanketed reduction of the substitute lines, which was part of the reduction that to get down to the budget number that we're at the 7.99. Moving down, these are all, again, all these numbers here. There's some increases and decreases. These are just writing themselves through salary lines. Professional development, we have a couple of small increases there, but mostly we had a blanketed decrease here. This was reducing 41,600, and this was proportionately reduced on each of the lines based upon its total ownership in the total. And this was again just a cut that was made to reduce the cost there to meet the budget line. District-wide textbooks on row 321. That was a big reduction, but that is in line with what the anticipation was for that line for this year. Elementary science books or textbooks, there's an increase there. This is for consumables that were built into ESSER and need to be built back into the budget. And then go down to row 349, and at that point you see this. This is our discretionary expenditure reduction that we did, which was, I believe, about $50,000. And again, it was just it was reduced proportionately based on the ownership that each line had in the total. This would be an area that if we do have additional funds at the end of the year, we would want to use these to try and help some of these lines to kind of boost them back up, because there are certainly some of these discretionary lines are very distinctive in what was actually put in there, and doing just a blanket reduction to those lines is not exactly conducive to understanding what can be reduced out of those lines. So if we can reinstate that a little bit, that would be great. That's a big section. We have when we look at our copier line, so starting on 486, 487, these are contractual costs associated with the copier leases and maintenance agreements that go with those copiers. Going down 2700 section, which is guidance and testing, again mostly salary there. We had an increase in programming fees on 527. This is just a contractual agreement or increase. Section 2800 psychological services, not a lot of change there, just salary again. Row number 5, oh gosh, can't see what this is, 556, and this is the school collective bargaining reserve. This is the one that was confusing last year. We also had that question this year. This line, the majority of the expenditures on this line are budgeted lane changes that we've been notified about, and that's where we carry that number until such time as we actually make the actual lane changes, and then budget adjustments will occur at that point. 3,100, not a lot there. That's at $7,500 in the 3,100 section. 3,200, medical and health services. This is, we have Cartwheel is on this line here, the Cartwheel contract. This is where we're holding it. We put it on the medical contracted services line. It seemed to be the best place for it to fit considering what the actual contract was. Scrolling down a little further, we are into transportation services. Yeah, it just costs money to transport. And again, just to remember that next year is a bid year. So we'll be going out to bid. Sean and I have been talking about that. My recommendation is go early. Get out there, October, if possible, November. Get the bid out so you have some good planning time to look at what you're talking about.
Matt, sorry,
Go ahead.
quick question. Have
Sure.
you heard much in the MASBO world or like district world of districts doing collective bids? Like, are they trying to transition for transportation to get collective power? And have you heard anything about that? It came up at the MASC
Yeah, so
advocacy day.
we can talk a little bit about this. So right now, there are, for special education's transportation, there are collaboratives that are currently working. So BICO, Accept, Assabet, they all have these collaboratives that there are multiple towns. They went to get the best pricing on special education transportation that they could. We were part of one when we were in Norton. When COVID hit and we didn't transport, we didn't pay. And then the collaborative went and voted that we all had to pay. So Norton was sitting there saying, look, we don't even control our own destiny here with these collaboratives. So that's a risk that you face when you go into a collaborative, is you are now subject to the vote of the entire collaborative over whether you're going to invest in that collaborative or not, and what you're going to pay. So it's a little complicated like that. Now with Yellow Bus, it's a huge complication, because once you go into a collaborative, you might get so big that there's only one company that can actually bid on you, and that would be First Student. First Student is a national organization. They are quite large. And that comes with its own set of problems. If you get so big that nobody else can bid, you're actually limiting yourself even further as you go along. So, and then if you start to roll out some of these smaller companies that can't afford to bid on bigger projects, you may find yourself stuck with only one provider that you can never use. So I understand where people are trying to go with the collaboratives, and they think that they're going to save money doing that. But when you create a monster as big as it becomes, you can't step away from it unless you're going to completely insource and buy your own buses and handle it in-house. That's a viable option, to actually do your own transportation in-house. It has a considerable upfront cost. Buses are $85,000, $90,000 to buy a bus. We run 13 buses. That's a lot of capital to get into
That's
it.
how much a pickup truck costs these days.
Then you own all of the human resources associations that go with having your own drivers and having all the problems that come along with that. Drivers are a nightmare to find. So there's no great answer here. Right now, you guys are pretty lucky, and this is a good district that's serviced by a great organization with Michael J. Conley. I've worked with them in a couple of districts. They're great. They're very responsive. You call and you get Stephen Conley when you call. So you get the top of the organization, and every time I call, he's available to talk to me. So it's great service. I know Natick uses it, and I think it's been great for them as well. So it's a good company. I think they've been very respectful in the bids that they've produced. But again, costs are increasing. So I'm not quite sure what you're going to be facing when the bid finally comes in.
Thanks, that was helpful.
So, yeah, busing, yep, those costs just keep going up. Food service, these are stipends for food service, no change on those for the year. Athletic services, we had an increase, so right here on line number 6, row 618, this is the school athletics medical line. This is where we pay the contracted services for the athletic trainer, and since we can't seem to, these companies just don't want to stay in business doing this any longer, this is where the money's going to come from to fund the athletic trainer. So we did not create the line yet. That is something that I do have a note. We're going to get that all set and ready to go so we can create it in July. I try not, any new lines or account numbers that we create, I try not to create them in the current year. Try to wait until the new budget year actually opens up so that it doesn't end up with confusion and people actually charging money to that line that has a zero budget on it. So we'll get that corrected. It'll be a salary line. So it'll be a new line that goes up top. Because what we have, athletic director or athletic secretary, doesn't really fit. So we'll create a new line that has that on there. And then a budget adjustment will occur to fund that line. Other student activities, not a lot of change there either, just salary. Everything else remained flat. Utilities, I don't even know why these lines are still open. But there's a small amount there. Maintenance of equipment, these are specific equipment lines for the schools. These were monies that are there for replacement of desks or new desks needed. Network and telecommunications, we had some contractual increases here. We brought back in the summer interns that were paid through ESSER, and those have been brought back in. And then these are, we had a reduction on the infotech supply line, but it was a reorganization where putting the correct costs where they need to be. Benefits and fixed charges, this is that 56,400, and the 11,000 is different from the 56,400. That's the separation cost that we keep talking about. So again, that's the budgeted number for this year. The community services, contracted services at your Metro West Youth Behavioral Survey, Minds Matter Interface, Referral Helpline. Programs with other school districts, these are your tuition lines. And this is the tuition cost that is being charged to the budget. In addition to this, you have Circuit Breaker that supports some tuitions and grants that support a little bit of tuitions as well. And of course, your SPED reserve fund is right there, being applied as a negative number within this budget line, but it's actually its own stabilization fund, and we'll transfer costs into that stabilization, spending that money down. There were no additional articles this year. There were last year, so we kept those lines there just to show that there was nothing additional. And that is your total budget, 7.99%.
And as you took us through that, you have the notes of what was ESSER positions that we moved into the operating budget. You also have the line items where when we voted for that higher down savings of $465,000, which positions we should expect to see those savings in?
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah, and again, with that 400,000 of higher down savings that we used to reduce the budget, it was just blanketly applied to those lines. As we work with the hiring process, they may not follow exactly what we put in there, and we'll balance those out when it's finally done, because we don't know who's going to apply to jobs. So far, I think we're holding the line pretty well. It's not bad.
More than half is probably below, but then we have some that are above.
Yeah, but there is a lot of there is a lot of thought around this and a lot of intent to do this correctly. So we did have like a position that came in that was a little high. And I went and spoke with the principal. He's like, "Oh, no, but I did so well over here. This is the money that's going to come." I'm like, "Oh, no, that's exactly the answer I wanted from you." So they are actually putting that effort in and making sure that they're focusing on that to make sure that they are going to help us hit that number. So.
And then to follow up on something from March 27th at the budget hearing, I just thought it would be important for the school committee and the public to know we had different scenarios that Dr. Munoz had showed us with different numbers of BCBAs, but we are not reducing the number of BCBAs. We're keeping 4 in the FY25 budget. And then Dr. Munoz, do you want to talk a little bit about the Cartwheel mental health services and the memo that Dr. Galligan submitted for us? It's in the FY25 folder.
Yeah, so Dr. Galligan is working with Cartwheel Mental Health Services. So they partner with them, and this is the company that provides direct referral services with mental health care to students. And this was a pilot program this school year, and this is meant to provide identified families with therapeutic services outside of school for a sustained period of time to eliminate the red tape, because a lot of times they have to go through processes when they're in school. So this actually gets them to the provider right away. And the pilot began back in March, and it carries through this September 30th, 2024, and it was funded by ESSER funds, and so it wasn't out of the general fund, but out of the ESSER fund budget. And he's reporting that it's been successful, and it serves up to 25 students in grades 6 through 12, and select elementary staff are being trained in the referral process soon, so we can start to expand Cartwheel from K to 12, or at least from elementary schools to high school. So we intend to partner with them in FY25, and so hopefully we can get to 50 students of service that can get services, and that service will happen between October 1st and all the way through the end of the school year, June 30th, and it's been included in the FY25 budget as well. And so they're going to expand their offerings to offer family therapy next year, included in their package price. So not only will it be just for students, but also families can get service as well, and they will be beginning to offer mental health services for educational staff here. For just a slight additional cost that we'll look at in the budget and talk with Mr. Luff and see how staff can get those services as well. That'll be completely confidential. They don't have to let anyone know that they saw the Cartwheel for their own mental health services, so we can start supporting staff with that as well.
We just wanted to call it out because we talked about Cartwheel a number of times at Budget Subcommittee, and we did as a school committee amend the ESSER grant, I think, in April with Mr. Wells to accurately reflect what a Cartwheel was, and then you, Matt, identified it in our FY25 line item. It does need to be a district-wide expense, not just the high school, going forward. And this is in alignment with things in Dr. Galligan's school improvement plan, also in our strategic plan, Objective 5, safe and supportive schools, and also supports what Mr. Quigley was talking to us about earlier tonight around our students still needing a lot of mental health support. So we just want to make sure everybody understood about the service. And then the last thing, Dr. Galligan talked to us on Thursday. He has been requesting a business teacher for about 4 years now in the budget, and we have yet to get the one full FTE in, but he was able to move some things around for FY25, right?
Yeah, it was all dependent on licensures, teachers that have different types of licensures, and so he did find a teacher. I actually already met with that teacher, put them on step and scale, which is actually cheap. Saves us some money a little bit. So they'll do part-time science and part-time business teaching course loads, and Dr. Galligan said that for this year he can actually, that will manage and suffice for the program, for the business program, but then in coming years we'll have to look at expanding that FTE service for the business program.
Yeah, and there's additional notes on that from our budget meeting if anybody wanted it. Are there any questions or anything we've shared today that you want us as a budget subcommittee to follow up in our meeting tomorrow? And Matt, you said Sean would be able to give us a end of year report in like August?
Yeah, probably. So we will, we're started the closing now. We're going to be kind of working through it. Next, the last week of June, I will be spending probably almost all of my time making sure that I'm focused on the numbers, which is not going to complete the numbers, but it's going to put it at the point that I can hand it off to Sean on the 1st. And over the first 2 weeks of July, he will work at finishing out that closing. So he should know, I would guess, probably by mid-August, he should be able to probably produce something that will give you a rundown of how the year finished out. And of course, Sean, Sean and I are going to stay in contact because, this is one of those very awkward handovers. Like, hey, it's just, hey, welcome July 1st. You got to figure out how to close this year out. So, I'm happy to stay in contact with him, make sure that any questions he has, I can answer. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Alrighty. Is that it for the budget update? Okay. So the next one, I'm sorry, if I'm, rental fees we are tabling?
No, not rental fees.
No, not rental, okay, right.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's the next one.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah,
tabling
we're not tabling, right,
No,
okay.
not tabling, correct, okay.
Yes, okay.
Mr. Wells, please talk to us about
So rental fees, there's a link to the booklet for rental fees. It has the policy and everything's just kind of incorporated into it. This is, I remember pulling this when we were doing our comps over in Dedham, so, it's a good data set. I'm not recommending any changes at this point in time. I think, we just went through a change on July 1st, so the prices are still pretty relevant right now. Might want to look at it this upcoming year just to make sure that they are still relevant, but it may be some time before it changes. These are kind of things, they don't tend to jump around a lot, unless you build a new turf field or something and you start renting that out and you want to actually set a fee for it. So for the most part, they don't change too much. And this all matches up with there's a table also that kind of goes with this, but it's within the actual document. So not recommending any change to this at all. I think it's a great structure and the prices are good for now the way they are set.
Okay, so you need a vote from us to, yep.
So I have a question.
Okay.
And it's more of a comment. I'd love for the budget subcommittee to look at some sort of structured fee increase over time, right? Like I've asked about this for...
You said it last year.
I said it last year. I said it the year before with extended day.
Was it supported by everybody? Because I was remembering this conversation as I sent Matt this information from
Yeah. So the reason behind that is not because I want to increase fees to increase fees. The issue is what has happened in our district in the past is that we have not raised fees, and then 10 years later we raise fees by 70%, and that's not fair. So what I'd love to do is have the budget committee, even if it's a half a percentage point a year or 1 percentage point every other year or every 3 years, I don't care what it is, something that guarantees that we're not going to get hit because we have been lax about increasing fees until all of a sudden we're like, holy crap, it costs $27,000 to a roll of paper towels, and that's what my concern is. I just don't want to see a big jump.
Yeah, and generally speaking, historically, the way that I've handled that is it's normally going every year is a little hard because if you're doing a percentage, then you end up it's like, oh, your fee is now $117.48. So it becomes like a little weird in the numbers. But if you do it at least every 2 years, you do a round incremental increase. You usually are enough to support where you're at and make sure that you're always protecting the fact that costs are increasing, but you want to kind of give people the increase at a regular rate. So I would certainly recommend, this is one thing I've been talking with Sean about, is I think you should collect all the fees together over the next year and then bring it to you probably next spring and say, here are the fees that we have, and this is, and whether there's a recommendation for increases or not.
And putting it back on the budget subcommittee radar.
Yeah, we didn't ignore it. So we did exactly what you were saying last year.
Yeah.
And we have the spreadsheet from Karen.
Yeah, so if you do it every 2 years,
it was like all the fees.
Yeah.
And
yes.
The ones that we had identified last year, that
they got
means
raised last year?
not all of them. So when we're talking about fees, you're talking about like bus, athletics, fine arts, preschool, meals, extended day that we no longer have to worry about after July 1. But last year, Karen did do a thorough analysis that Matt said he then stole in Dedham. That's what he was saying over there.
Okay.
He stole it when he was in Dedham.
I was just looking for great comparables,
I'm
and it was a
glad our work
fantastic
helped
spreadsheet that was
you.
there. Yes.
I'm glad our work was helpful.
I don't think we increased fees either, though, so it's just, we kept them flat.
The two that Karen had identified for us last year, that then because the transition of this year we never really got to as a subcommittee, was looking at the fine arts fee because remember, right now you just pay one fine arts fee for the whole year, even if you're in a number of ensembles, where with athletics you pay per season. So we did identify that we wanted to look at that, so that could be something we circle back to. And then I think our preschool fees need to be looked at again. It's been a number of years since we looked at those and compared like the length of day and the number of days. So those are the two things that I think are next to be looked at again.
Just gonna bring it up every time.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, it'd be
Yeah.
great.
Well,
I just,
Yeah.
because with the extended date, it ended up doubling by, was it 100%?
Well, it was a long time.
Yeah, that shouldn't have
yeah,
gone as
yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I just don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
We'll just bring it up every time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the fees we were looking at tonight were specifically the rental fees, because our rental policy says they're supposed to make a vote by July 1 for the next fiscal year. The one question I would have, if you could circle back with Mr. Riccardi, there's a couple of leases for this building. So WIC, Head Start, and then the Norwood Basketball Association. He has leases with them. It doesn't follow our tiered rental chart. And if we could just know what those agreed leases are.
What was it, WIC, Head Start?
WIC, Head Start, and the Norwood Basketball Association. Those are the three that I'm aware of.
All right, we'll definitely check.
Looking for a motion?
Sure.
Move to approve the fee scale as is submitted.
Is there a second?
One second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 5-0. Thank you, sir. Okay. So the next one.
Yeah, just a quick update. We're not gonna have anything to vote on for the MOU for the extended day tonight, but I did read all the principals' feedback, and they really want this program to work, but they just had some questions about.
They don't know the premise.
Yeah.
Do you want me to give the what
The
we're talking about?
background.
Sure.
Okay. Or
This is
Mac.
about half days?
About half days.
Half days, yes.
So in our MOU with the extended day program going to the rec center, we had said for the first year they needed to keep everything the same.
Yeah.
And it explicitly says in our MOU no half days, because historically it's been a challenge to have half day care past couple of years. And John Kinney had reached out to Matt and JJ, and then came to a budget subcommittee, and Anne Marie and I had said that we think we would be open to revising the MOU and allow half days, but we asked Dr. Muniz to talk to the principals.
Yes.
So now go.
I've listened to the principals, and they each individually responded, and I think it's an important deal, and would love to see this happen. They would just love to have a conversation with, whether it's me through me or with me, with the rec center, to say, hey, how would this logistically work? Because some buildings can make it happen if you just give them a head's notice. The other buildings, depending on the staff meeting, it's very hard to find space for two things to happen at once. So, and I know Mr. Kinney was talking about a soft rollout of like a couple schools first for the first half day, then a couple schools for the next half day, instead of having all schools do it at once. And so that was something he had proposed an idea to, but I think the building principals just need to have a more detailed conversation to say, making sure the rec center is not coming in thinking that they're assuming some space already, and they're like, we have staff coming into this space. And so they have ideas that they're proposing out, but they were all open to the idea of having it happen. It was just a logistical thing of making sure that we were on the same page.
I'm just gonna say, we were not, when we voted, well, it's not ours anymore, but when we voted to move them into the schools, we were not told that it would take away the half-day programming. You were not here for that.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, no, you were not here for
I was
that.
not.
But we were not told that the half-day programming would be taken away, so I would be in favor of anything that would resume half-day programming.
Yeah, and all the principals want it. We just want to make sure that there's not a logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
And,
I
there-
would-
and there's community need for it, definitely, so.
Yeah.
Say that again.
There's community need for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we
Huge.
definitely wanna.
Are you saying, Dr. Giblin, if we do this, that you would increase the half days for the year?
Oh, you're
No.
pushing it now.
No, I still would like to only see full days instead of scattered half days all over the place. However, if we are going to have half days where our elementary school students are getting out, what time do they get out? 11:10? 11:40. That's like a full day for working parents
Yeah.
who work during the day.
Yeah.
Right? You can't show up to work and be like, hey, I'm here for 2 hours. See you later. Like it's
basically
a
a day
full
off.
day. Yeah,
It's a day off.
it's a day off for the parent. So.
Yeah, that's my update, and I'll have more information for the next school committee meeting, and obviously Mr. Love will be in that conversation.
Dr. Muniz, if we do update the MOU and we don't meet again until end of July. Would you just check with John, because when he met with us, I know he was trying to figure out how he could do some schools, probably not all the schools next year, because there is a staffing component.
Yep.
Would you just follow up with him and see like what he
Yeah.
needs from us?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to the next, and so the next is legislative advocacy, and we are tabling.
Yes.
Okay.
It's gone to admin, it needs to be looked at by them, so.
Indefinite postponement. Put on my moderator hat. Okay, the next item is policy. Do you want to, Kate, do you want to give any?
We don't have an update.
Yeah.
The handbooks got pushed, right? So.
Yeah, we didn't have any central
Once that's
admin or.
our issue is attached to that for right now.
Yep.
I'm just full of conversation this evening, I'm sorry. I'd love to know if the policy subcommittee would entertain looking at creating a policy around research in our schools. There are many districts who require any surveys, any research that's done with our students be passed through the school committee, so that there's kind of like a centralized location for that, and we do not have that, and I'd love for us to consider implementing that.
So surveys like, for example, Metro West or whatever?
Yeah, so we would approve those, but as a matter of course, but as of right now, we don't have a policy that says that we would need to approve any research that's happening in our schools.
Okay.
So anybody who's doing research for their doctorate, for anything like that, could be doing it without, we have no.
They could be doing it with a principal, but not, we have no
And
idea.
and right, and so the issue with that is then, you know, you've got a small. First of all, I'm not gonna. Never mind. Just consider it. I'm not gonna go off on the soapbox. Going honest, I'm not gonna go off on the soapbox. Just consider it.
Sure, we'll look into it.
BPS has a very rigid policy. If you want a model of it, which I think is too rigid, but you can take a look at
A
it.
model that's too rigid.
Something to start with.
Something to
and
start
figure
with,
it out.
yeah. They're like, we will only approve research
know.
if it's on, you work there, right? If it's submitted on this date, and we will do it on this date, and too bad, so sad if you miss it. I don't think it needs to be like that.
There is a policy that touches on it a little bit.
I looked, I couldn't find the.
No, there is.
Say this stuff lives in.
It's in my head.
Chris's brain.
Well, how about we
Noted.
look into it?
We'll look at it some other time.
Yeah, it's not as
I
clear
looked
as what
bef-
you're talking
Yeah,
about,
I
but
want
there
something
is
that
one
clear.
that talks about like the intent and the purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can find it for you, Kate, and then I would agree it should be looked
I
at.
can look for it.
Yeah, and I can send an
If
email
urgency
about what my
from
concerns
everyone
are.
is- Okay.
All right, so that is policy. Thank you for that suggestion.
Oh, can I give you one more reminder?
Yeah.
Back in the fall, Mr. Kerr and some other people had identified that they were finding our field trip policies confusing.
Oh.
And they asked us to look and simplify. We might want to do that before the school year, and then we can start the next school
Okay.
year off fresh. It's policy ILD,
Simplifying.
student submission to educational surveys and research.
What is it, one more time?
I got it.
ILD.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
I'm just gonna look it up. I will send you an email.
All right, now we're gonna move on to policy. Okay, so next item on the agenda is meeting schedule. Linked in your packet is the suggested dates for September to June. However, I know we never set the date for August. I was waiting for some things, and then obviously we got very, very distracted. I did want to bring that back up again really quick because we do have one date where the majority of us can make it to. Unfortunately, it is all the way at August 27th, so it's very late in the month. Joan is the only one that can't make it. I actually had said I could not because I have him on vacation that week, but I am not, it's probably going to be a staycation, so nowhere glamorous. And I would be able to remote into something like that or be here as well. But that was 6 out of the 7 of us could make that date. All of the other dates that we have are 5 out of 7. Obviously making sure Mr. Luff could make all of those dates, so he was priority 1. And then the rest of us kind of filtering in, and that would be 2, on all the rest of the dates, that would be 2 committee members missing. And I didn't really feel that was,
Tough to only plan with 3 in case somebody else gets sick. Or
exactly. So
Did you
I would
say
like
the 27th, which is
August
Tuesday?
27th, Tuesday,
Okay.
August
Just wanna
27th. So I'd like to suggest that Tuesday, August 27th be our August date, which is immediately prior to the school year starting, which actually kind of sets us rolling for, gives us a lot of time between end of July and beginning of August. So hopefully Do we need to vote on that, or do?
So July
or should we just
24th
do it
and
now?
August 27th.
Yes.
So we're doing the 10th as our workshop,
Correct.
July 10th,
Yep.
July 24th business, and then August 27th business.
Yep.
Move to approve. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because I think we should vote, like.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just make it official for me, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the summer dates are set. So then, like I said, in the packet is the list of dates, the suggested dates. And so again, these were dates that Teresa worked with Mr. Luff to make sure that they would align with the central admin team and himself, and just all around approximately where they usually are in the school year. You know, noting that like in November we only have one meeting because of the MASC conferences, and but in general 2 meetings a month as we always do, except for March where we always have the extra for the budget hearing. We always have 3 meetings in March. Yeah, so I just want to did everybody have a chance to look at that? Does anyone have questions, suggestions, anything really popping out as not okay?
I think as I look at this, I would still advocate that along with November, February and April, we only do 1 meeting. I think this year was extraordinary, and there was a stretch where we did 3 meetings in 4 weeks, and the back-to-back is killer. So that would be my thing.
Oh, you mean because 5th and 12th? Yeah, I'm living that right now.
So I did talk with Mr. Luff, and obviously he's here and he can respond, but I did talk to him about back-to-back meetings, and he felt he could manage that from his perspective. I would not reduce meetings before budget, like January to March.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing about the
Hey.
February because of the budget stuff.
I hear that, but we also this year had a budget meeting that there was a lot of other stuff at, and I think we need to protect that, and there's always stuff that we can add, and I know that we've had this conversation piecemeal over the past 8 months, but I think part of what we need to do is we look at this, like there's always stuff we can add. I know there is, but I think we also need to rebalance because the amount of meetings that we have had that were scheduled and then unscheduled, and again, I understand it's an extraordinary circumstance this year, but I think that's a good time to do that. I don't doubt that you can do back-to-back and get everything ready that we need, but
I have to actually agree with you on that particular one because it's not only the February that's back-to-back, it's January 29, 5th, 12th. It's 3 weeks in a row.
It's not just him. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, that's-
It gets rough for
That's rough.
the other.
I think I'm on vacation for those 3 weeks.
That's my concern, is that that's
It's,
like.
no, just like across the board.
That's
admin
3
and
long
everyone
Wednesdays in a
else.
row. And I know it's budget season, but that's a lot.
So
Is one of them the budget hearing? No.
No, that's
too
March
early.
26th.
Yeah, and none of these are the budget workshop either, right?
But one of them could become the budget workshop. We haven't, because I believe our budget cycle may be changing a little bit with our incoming superintendent when we start and how we do things.
Yeah.
So we have
should be
not-
starting much earlier.
We have not yet worked
Come
on a
up, Tim.
budget
Come
calendar.
Come join us.
I think as we do our norm meeting, I'm hoping that we can probably work to reduce the amount that we're putting into each of the meetings. So I hope that maybe perhaps we don't need as many, and they can be added as we go, if we have to do that. I don't have any problem putting packet to packet to packet together and getting that out to you. But I do agree that those back-to-back-to-backs are hard and difficult. I mean, you did a lot of work this year. You hired a new superintendent. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you did,
Right.
budget, of course, all these things. So I'm not opposed to looking at the fewer numbers of meetings in those at all. If you do decide to do 3 meetings, I will work through that and make sure that that happens. But I do hope that our norms sessions can work us through a better process
Yeah.
with the budget cycle and with, where we place certain things and, in the year, and try to get us more efficient too. But
Would you guys be comfortable with making the 5th a tentative, like a placeholder? We have it there, placeholder, but we don't schedule it unless like poop is hitting the fan.
My pushback would be is we do that all of the time, and then with the long-term agenda, it spills into that. like, I think April and February should be one. If you guys can drop that February 5th one and then just keep the 2 in April, I mean, it's
Yeah,
the
I'm
will
real-
of the
I
committee.
I don't think we can drop the February 5th one. I'd be more willing to drop the April one.
I'm just saying, like I said, the 3 week.
I can't do another 3 weeks in a row. I can't do that.
I'd rather drop one in January than in February.
Right, but that still puts us with 3 weeks.
I'm just.
Oh, you mean
Well,
dropping
what's wrong with
like,
the
yeah,
February, why February, what's wrong? Why
It
February?
would just.
Because we'll go
budget.
29, 5, 12, 3 weeks in a row.
This January stuff is budget too.
Yeah,
think-
the closer we get to March, the more likely we are to have things to discuss and talk about, right? I mean, if we
But
have.
we're starting earlier this year. I think I just want to chime in and say too that I think we have had exceptional times, and we really do have to make the effort to I'm trying to think of nautical terms and it's not happening.
rewrite the ship.
Rewrite the ship, but like reorient ourselves
Yeah.
into what our expectation of ourselves is. And so I think we have to aim to be able to do it. I think Tim's gonna have so much on his plate just getting up to speed that yes, he can do packets. Of course, we know he's competent. But should he be spending his time, that much time, and you know what I mean? I think you guys know what I'm saying. I'm not gonna.
I think, you know, my idea for the budget cycle is we're gonna bring the budget departments together in the fall, right? And we're gonna have the departments do their budgets, and I want you seeing them in January, right? So by the time we get to March, I hope a lot of that work is done. So I hope you don't have 3 meetings in March, right, that really require all that detail, because you'll have already seen the curriculum budget with the PD piece in there, you'll have seen the special ed budget with all those pieces in there, you'll have seen the athletic, all those pieces should be done way prior. The budget subcommittees should be working, you know, to look at those well before the time they did now, and when it comes to March, it should be much smoother. That's my goal, that's my hope, and I hope we get there. So I do not think you will need as many meetings as you normally have in the spring, so you, I think you could work through and possibly reduce some of the ones and not have the back-to-back-to-backs. Because yeah, I don't love the idea of getting out of, you know, one and then starting the next agenda the next day either, so.
Absolutely.
I don't blame you. But it can be done.
I definitely advocate for dropping that but
February 5th.
Yeah.
If we dropped any, that would make
It makes
sense
the
to
most
me.
sense, because then you still have a couple weeks, the 12th, the 5th, like, it still gives you, like, those budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
The caveat is just, obviously, we can't control the flow of the town.
Oh, I know.
We can
I
try.
know.
We can try.
We have tried.
But half of you in this room knew how hard I had to work just to get the BBC meeting scheduled for Monday, so we will continue to try. And then just a question, Mr. Eliff. In your experience in other districts, if you're starting earlier, like, how are you balancing the weighting of the state process?
So, I mean, typically, we're looking at, you know, January is when we really start to look at the numbers of the town and the appropriations there. Obviously, we have our tentative budget number when there might have to be some shifts, you know, when we finally get the cherry sheets done and all that kind of stuff, and figure that out, but typically, we have a good understanding of where we might land.
Okay.
We typically will vote on our budget in March as well, because we have to wait for that to come in.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but you'll have all that other detail prior, though, what you need, what we don't need, and all those pieces.
Yeah. Definitely open to dropping February 5th. However, if we then need to add it back in, we're gonna have the conversation.
We're just gonna do so awesome we don't have to.
I would not recommend we go down to 1 in April, because we did that this year, and we're still paying the price, and we've had a domino effect that's now carrying into the summer.
Yeah, April vacation, it does stink, but at the same time, there is a lot that goes on in the spring with the shared cost and like all these things that start coming up with rental fees and that we're supposed to be looking at and improving, and it definitely, that's one where I think we could live with it, but I think at that point we'll have a good cadence and they'll be shorter. And we won't be here for 4 hours and all night long.
I would actually recommend you put your fee increase vote right into the budget process as you do it.
Right, so I think these.
I'm sorry to cut you off. My argument would be, I think we can still drop the April meeting, but if we're gonna drop February 5th, I will still vote no, but I will reluctantly agree. So.
So, do we, can we agree to drop the 5th? What's that?
We don't need
Yeah.
to vote.
Yeah, we do.
We need to vote on
Okay.
the whole calendar.
Oh, on the calendar, sorry.
Yeah.
So motion to approve the calendar minus February 5th.
Do I have a
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 4-1. Thank you for holding your line. It's consistent.
Thank you for dropping February 5th.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is actually the long-term agenda for July through June. So we'll, obviously now that we have the date set and we are at the last meeting of the current school year, we'll need to create a long-term agenda document and create all new meeting calendar organization in the folder. I will, after today's meeting, work with Lisa.
Can we do that, or like the long-term agenda, like making some of those documents, but can we just like the 24th of July and the next, whether it's you
Yeah, we'll
or
obviously need to
someone else?
like put something together for the,
Okay.
obviously, but yeah, no, I think that's something that we can,
Perfect.
because what we usually do is, and exactly that, yeah, usually whoever the new chair is will put together, based on the previous year's agenda, the things that have to go in there, and then we start populating things from there. So absolutely, I think we'll need something obviously for the July meetings, and I can ask Lisa Lift to put together like the folder structure like we have this year, and we can at least get started from that perspective.
Great.
Okay. I love that it was put in for 10 minutes. There's no way my long-term agenda ever takes 10 minutes.
Well, we can talk about it online too.
Yes, no, absolutely. And that's pretty much where it is. It's a check-in, and it's on there in our policies just to check in and make sure that we're paying attention to it. Okay, so the next item is subcommittee assignments, but that is along with our school committee reorg. That was part of the postponement to the July 24th meeting, since that will also come out of our workshop discussions on realigning who's going to be on which subcommittees. So we will table that until then. Dr. Munoz, I think we are tabling the next item, which is the family liaison job description, so that will be tabled until the 24th. Okay. And then the BCBA, we are doing that one tonight?
We are.
Okay, so we will go jump to that.
So the job description's in the agenda for you guys to look at, but basically we just want to give more clarity on what the role is for the BCBA. That's been a little bit, different expectations depending on who you talk to, what the role's supposed to be, so you can see what's in red there to make sure we're clarifying that role. And we work with the union, Mrs. Smith and her team to write the job description, so it was updated. So this is what both the administration and the union agreed.
Any questions on this job description?
No, I would just add, I think everybody's aware, but as we've been negotiating with Unit B, in tandem to that, we have been reviewing all of the Unit B job descriptions and updating them. There's a couple others that have been slightly updated that we will bring this summer, but this one was the priority because we need to post it tomorrow.
Yeah, because we have to hire.
Because we have to hire BCBAs. And I would just thank Ms. Smith and Dr. Munoz and also Ms. Amino and Dr. Galligan. Dr. Galligan led the job description reviews for the Unit B process.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Jesus, Kate. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by David. All those in favor?
Aye.
So that passes 5-0. All right, next item, the MOA. We are doing that tonight, yes?
No.
Are we pushing that?
No, we pushing that?
No, I don't believe there will be an MOA for this. There's, we're
Okay.
just having trouble hiring these positions, and at this point in time, we're a little late in the year. We're gonna need to go contracted services to fill these positions. We advertise internally, we advertise externally, that nobody applied for the jobs. So, we've got to get these positions on board to make sure that we can service this summer. So, Ms. Semino is looking at contracted services this time.
Okay.
Are we talking about that more tomorrow, a subcommittee, the costs?
We can definitely add this tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, so we'll report back after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That
Excellent idea.
brings us to consent agenda. Dr. Munoz, do we have any?
Consent agenda. What is consent agenda? Everyone knows what I'm talking about. So we have a couple donations today. We have the lead program, the lead program has been given some funds from the Women's Community of $500 gift card to the lead transition program. And we also have the Sandra and William DeCepolo, thank you. DeCepolo, they are also donating a $100 gift card to the lead transition program as well.
Move to accept, approve both donations.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you very much for your generous donations. Okay, so that brings us to school committee addenda. Teresa.
What a year. What a year. And appreciation and respect for everybody around this table and in this room. It's been far from easy for any of us. First, I want to say if Dr. Thompson is still following our meetings, that I wish him the very best. And I appreciate everything that he did and led and supported in Norwood over his 7 years here, because there are many things that we accomplished during his tenure and under his leadership. And I greatly appreciate it, and I hope that he knows that. So I wanted to acknowledge him. JJ, you mentioned earlier that you're counting down from being acting superintendent, but thank you for stepping in. Matt, thank you doubly, first of all, for coming here as an interim finance director, and then months later for stepping in as acting assistant superintendent. I appreciate you both. I enjoy working with you both. I'm going to miss you, Matt. I'm going to miss you. I am excited, however, for July 1st and Mr. Luff officially, although I thank you, Mr. Luff, for being willing to slowly transition in a consulting mode over the last couple weeks. I look forward to Sean Mannion joining us on July 1 as well. I think we will have a really strong leadership team going forward. I thank all of my colleagues around this table for all of the many different subcommittees, task force, union negotiations. I thank Jody Smith for everything that she has done. She is retiring, but she will still, I'm sure, be here watching us because she's still staying as union president. And we will still see a lot of her in the next couple weeks as we finish, hopefully soon, negotiating with the teachers union for Unit A and Unit B. I thank our staff. We have an amazing staff. I'm always really proud of them, and I know they all work extremely hard every day. And not just as a school committee member, but as a parent whose kids are in this district, I appreciate everything that teachers and paras and principals and everybody does for all of our students every day. So just thank you to many, many people.
Okay. Well said, Teresa, and I echo your gratitude and appreciate everyone that I get to work with. And we just want to say to our families to have a great summer. I hope that we can continue as a community and work toward working together and supporting each other. Teaching kids is hard, being a kid is hard, and we need our staff and our administrators and our parents all sort of working together to really help give these kids the best chance they can get. So take a break, enjoy the summer if you can, and then we'll keep going. That's all I got.
Joan?
I won't belabor the point, but I also want to thank our staff, especially our teachers who I know are going above and beyond the call of duty. My daughter was on a field trip today, and when I asked her how it went, she came home and said the teacher got pooped on by a bird. And the bus is, all right, okay, so there was a lot that went on there, and I just, yeah. So I just want to thank our staff who are going above and beyond in every sense of the word with our students, and thanking them for and thanking that particular teacher for laughing about that with my daughter. I want to thank JJ. Thank you for stepping in as acting superintendent. Matt, thank you for stepping in as interim finance director and acting assistant superintendent, which is an impressive conglomeration of titles. Tim, I'm really excited for you to get here. I have my own personal countdown going called T minus. It's the Tim minus days. I want to thank my colleagues for all of the work that they do. And Jody, I'd say thank you, but we're still going. So same to you, Josh. So I'll say thank you when that process is done. And I just want to say thank you to the parents as well. Parents are really a huge kind of unsung kind of third? Yeah, I'd say third, right? Three-legged stool, fourth, because you count the students. Parents are a big part of the Norwood Public Schools community, and we don't shout out enough how much time and effort they put into things like our PTOs or to booster clubs, or just taking the time out to talk to their kids' teachers. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's involved, because this really is a community effort. That's it.
David.
Happy summer.
Happy summer.
And I will echo my colleagues' sentiments. Thank you so much to everybody in the district for all of your hard work, students, staff, parents. Again, also, thank you to Mr. Wells and Dr. Munoz for stepping in and really doing a great job under lots of short notice and lots of stress. It's been a pleasure working with you both in this capacity. Good luck in your next endeavor. I might pop your tires so you can't get out of the parking lot on June 30th, but it won't be me. And just everybody have a fabulous summer. Try to unwind, unplug, reset as much as humanly possible, and enjoy the sun. And we'll see you guys back here July 10th for our workshop. And then we will be live on July 24th. Actually, we'll be doing that as a remote meeting. So you can look for, people at home can look for that. But that does bring us quite to the end of our regular business meeting. Unfortunately, we need to go into executive session for the purpose of contract negotiations with unions and non-union, just unions and non-union personnel. And I do need a motion to go into executive session. Moved by Teresa, seconded by Joan. I have to poll individually, so Teresa?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. We will only reconvene for the purpose of adjournment. Wish you all a very good night, and thank you very much.